Coming up on BeefBoys.
And again, am I talking about a delicious RuneScape character or an easy to eat one?
Delicious. Bug. Dude, I've had this gnat all day. Dude,
shadow boxing.
This gnat, I'm sorry.
Make your own Cleveland Brown.
The Family
I
Guy
got
MMO
Cleveland.
launched. The inflation rate has gone up substantially, which means you can't just stand and say buying GF 10k anymore. It's at least 25k.
But if you would turn around, feel my heart beating fast enough. When tomorrow comes, you'll be the sun. And we're speeding off until we're one again.
Konnichiwa, bitch. Merry Christmas, Lisa. Stop flaming, okay? You know, I'm gonna tell you.
Welcome back to Beef Boys, the show with hot questions and even hotter boys. I'm joined today by the enigmatic Josh Strife Hayes. You might know him from his myriad of channels, including Josh Strife Hayes, his MMO content channel, Josh Strife Plays, his general gaming review channel, Josh Strife Says, his Twitch Clips channel, and Josh Strife Maze, his channel where he reviews different cornfields. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Josh Strife Gaze.
I'm going to be honest, so far the slow acceptance of the Maze channel is somewhat depressing me, and I was trying to hope that you wouldn't mention that that's not as successful as the other ones, but thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to talking about all the things that you want to talk about, and I appreciate the fact that you're holding a mug as well. I like to think you're doing that for me.
It's 8 a.m.
I don't have a mug.
I don't have a mug.
Wait, what the fuck?
Thank you everyone, by the way, for being up at 8 in the morning to facilitate the podcast.
It's the classic British guest meme because I can't convince these three guys to wake up at 4 a.m. Which I suppose is fair. Anyway, Josh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Let us talk.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem, guys. I've been playing some video games all day, and it's nice to take a bit of a break and just have a cup of tea and chat for a bit. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to talk about games, and I'm happy to go off on random tangents.
I have a really pertinent question personally for Josh.
Yes.
Oh, it's pertinent as hell.
Josh, how do you feel about the song Live to Win by Paul Stanley?
You know when you set a song as your alarm tone on your phone, and after about 6 months of having it as your alarm tone, you hate it, and every time you hear it out in public, it just annoys you? That didn't happen. And I think that says a lot about that song for me. Every time I hear it, I'm like, I need to get up and do stuff, even if I'm already awake.
Yeah,
it kind of is a really powerful song.
It's done well. I'm happy with it.
Do you reckon that could get you up for an 8 a.m. podcast?
If God came in and started
provided it's between 3 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe. All right. If I'm busy at any other time, no.
And if he has tea.
I'm British, so we have to legally bring tea over to America whenever we do anything. We tried it a couple of years ago. You guys didn't like it.
And we legally need to dump it in the ocean.
Yeah,
keep trying.
It's tradition.
Technically, the ocean is now the world's weakest cup of tea.
That is true.
That is true.
I like the idea that like people in America who enjoy tea are just constantly at odds. The tea gets imported and then there's immediately a bunch of guys at the docks throwing it into the water.
No, guys!
There's just dock workers running around with guns and tasers trying to stop them.
Yeah, the PG and Yorkshire tea invasion of America is going slowly, but we have faith it'll keep going. There's enough caffeine to keep everyone trying.
Eventually, it'll overrun our water sources and from the inside out corrupt us.
Yeah, we're playing the long game. We're playing the long game. Eventually, there'll be enough tea in the ocean that you'll turn the tap on, you'll drink a cup of water, and then you'll look down and suddenly you're dressed in British regalia, and you have a really strong urge for crumpets and to go and watch Mr. Bean.
Those white corn rolls on that the judges wear.
White
Those are
corn
more like cornrows because they're like thick corn on the cob ass fucking curls.
They are really thick cornrows.
I like the idea they just all become like 2000s white wannabe gangsters. They just have
they become what's that dude's name? Fucking Lil Bow Wow.
Yeah.
He's like a Nickelodeon show.
Do you reckon on that note, has anyone ever done a sketch where it's like there's a guy at like a party or whatever and he pulls out like a little baggie, but it's got tea leaves in it?
Tea leaves.
It's just Earl Grey.
And yeah, he's like a British guy at a party and he just
homie, I go
he's
with
like,
me.
yo, come outside, boys, and he pulls out the bag and pours it into a cup.
He's got a little kettle.
That sounds like a Key and Peele sketch. But
does.
like,
It does.
if it sounds like anyone else would do it, it wouldn't be funny. But
stuff.
Key and Peele could actually nail it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that work.
You're all joking about this. I have to go and rearrange the kitchen and send some small plastic bags back if it's the joke. I thought that was just how we transported tea.
Oh, yeah.
Shit, lads, they're on to us.
Oh yeah, they do kind of already come in little dime bags
baggies.
of tea.
They
I
do,
mean, that
yeah.
is that's the original dime bag.
Yeah,
if
Believe
you're
it or
being
not, that
honest.
was actually, you're about to have some tea fact-based
Some
anecdotes here.
TT.
Okay.
That was actually a mistake, genuinely. The tea was sent back from, I believe, India in about 1700s, and it was sent in a small silken bag. And the idea was that the bag be open and the tea leaves be brewed, but the guy that got it didn't realize that was meant to happen, so just put the whole bag in hot water. Liked it so much. I'm like, hey, send all
like
those
that
tea bags
more.
over. So yeah, the design of the tea bag was a mistake, but we rolled with it, like most British things.
Right. Oh, this works.
What is this country? It's ours now. Shit.
Shit, I guess we should get a king.
I like the idea that England's just
Should
falling
probably set
upwards
something
constantly.
Yeah,
It is.
just making
It
shit up
really
as we
is.
go.
Josh, who's your favorite king in the history of the or queen?
In like the history of all kings, are we including like video games? Are we including like chess?
Only ones that have seen
Well, I wanna
the
see
great
both.
British jewels of the British
Yeah,
Empire.
that
I want to hear
have
both.
served
I want to hear
rituals
your
of the
favorite
Tower of
fictional
Ben or
and
whatever.
real queen or king.
Yeah.
Yeah, favorite
All of
fictional
the
and real
kings.
king.
See, the thing is that British people, we don't actually know. We have a lot of history, but we don't know much of it going back beyond about 2002. Before then, everything is pretty
Unlike
much
America,
ancient.
who has very good history taught in their high schools.
Yeah, we go back to 2001.
Yeah,
I'm very
Specifically
specifically
in
day in
September.
2001.
Yeah.
My first memory was who won Best Kiss Award at the Teen Choice Awards. Kirsten Dunst and Toby
And
Maguire.
9/11.
And 9/11.
Fuck? My first memory was seeing smoke from about 50 miles away on the horizon coming from New York City.
Oh yeah, you
Two
were
big
there for that.
squares in the sky.
My dad missed
Well,
work
having
that
a
day,
big
or he would
campfire
have
over
blown
there.
up.
That is fucking insane.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
No,
Shout
I'd say
out.
that I quite like King Henry. He was quite cool.
Oh yeah, I
Shakespeare
forgot we had
that was
that.
gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah,
my
yeah.
answer.
Is that the
guy
one
was
that killed
balling.
seven of his wives
Yeah.
and then like the eighth
Henry
one?
VIII, yeah, he got married, decided he wasn't too keen on it, and the church went, nah, you can't divorce. So he went, well, I'll make my own church, and genuinely did.
Drowning
And
in
that's
pussy.
why
And
Church
you
of England
subscribed to
exists.
that?
Yeah, he couldn't get divorced
Yeah.
because of the rules, so he made his entire own
Right.
church, which is apparently a thing a king can do. I didn't realize that. We're all hoping Charles does it just for a laugh at some point.
He gets really
Yo,
into Scientology.
Charles. Church of England 2. Let's make it
What
happen,
if Charles?
buddy.
What if Charles gets divorced and like the woman he divorces just gets 50% of the British Empire, and she like starts
I
a
mean,
second country?
Charles is like 90 years old, so if he gets divorced, I'm
very
not sure he
possible.
could survive it too well.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you get half the British Empire, we'll just saw it in half. They can have Scotland and Ireland. There's been a long argument about who owns them anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, yeah, the British Empire isn't quite
Signing a prenup for the British Empire is really funny. just like making
thing
Oh
is,
sure
shit,
you
people
we
can
have
have
forgot.
that shit.
We forgot
Yeah.
Lincolnshire. She got it.
There's this patriotic idea the British Empire is still massive, but honestly, it's like 3 small towns and a field. That's pretty much
Yeah.
it. That's all we've got
And you guys
left.
need
Josh-
There's a
king.
couple of cafes. There's a restaurant. I think somewhere there's a Greg's. That's about it.
Yeah.
Josh, is there a
Maybe a
reason?
Nando's.
I've wondered this my whole life. What is there a reason that you guys conquered the entire world and then just left Wales in this like tiny, indefensible piece of shit right next to you guys, and they got to be their own country?
Yeah, we pretty much just ignored it for a while, and we got too focused on everything else. It was a pretty big invasion plan, and then we forgot
Right.
about them. It's almost like if you're playing Civilization and you forget about the guy that starts next to you, and then at the end you scroll the camera left, and you're like, wait, what, fuck? You've been building that the
Yeah.
whole time, and then you lose.
How'd you guys
In
build
fact,
the
Yeah,
I
you
think
forgot
genuine
about
actual-
Gandhi, and then he has nukes by fucking 1950, and you're
Genuine
like,
historical story about World War One and World War Two. Actual British comedy.
Yes.
So there's England, there's Scotland, and then in between England and Scotland, there's a small village called Berwick upon Tweed. Now, the actual ownership
That's a
of Berwick
good
upon
name.
Tweed, whether it's English or Scottish, has been under debate for years and years and years. But when World War One started, the declaration of war read England, Scotland, and the village of Berwick upon Tweed have declared war against Russia. And
It's like
They're like,
5 dudes
wait,
in
did
a
we?
field like,
Finished.
we're
Yeah.
going to war.
Well, the problem was when World War One finished, the end of war declaration only said England and Scotland. So about 60 years later, the mistake was corrected, and the mayor of Berwick upon Tweed gave a speech. He walked out onto this tiny little wooden stage and said, "The Russians can sleep safely in their beds. Berwick upon Tweed have pulled out of the war."
I like to
400
imagine it's
people.
like in an MMO where
That's
like you've got
fucking
the
epic.
factions you're at war with that you're like don't have reputation with. Like if a German went to Berwick upon Tweed, he just starts aggroing the whole town.
Yeah, they just forgot that it happened for a bit. But I think that's very quintessentially British. A lot happened, we forgot a lot, and now we're a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you think if I was dressed like this in where Berwick upon Tweed sits now, like 200 years ago, they would have named it James upon Polyester
I
or
think if
something
you
like
walk there
that?
right now, they'd actually nominate you king. That's how it works.
Oh.
If you were to turn up right now, they'd make you at
When
least
they
a
see
mayor.
these things,
Or if you do that, the police are going to get their little truncheons out, and then we're going to have to call the helicopter.
they
Club
can't.
you.
This is a laser. This is a ray gun. No one can stop that.
Like, guys, I'm the king of this town. You can't. Hey, you know. They
This is
named
now
me
James
king,
upon cowboy hat.
and we're going to war
Bitch.
with Russia again.
James upon
Yeah, the
G's.
Russians are not sleeping.
They're not
First
sleeping
May all
soundly.
decree is
Yeah,
we're
it's
back
a-
at war.
With a country that no one even knows about because it's like 300 years ago. There's been a few times like that, isn't there? There's been like random islands that, you know, declared war as part of World War One or two, or even like Vietnam or whatever. And then, yeah, like you say, the end of war declaration just misses it because
Yeah.
it's some random island that technically like the
Yeah.
US or whoever has sovereignty over. But like it means that they are still technically at war.
There's an actual old oil rig drilling platform just off the English coast, and someone bought it and
Oh,
then
yes, another one. They
declared
made
it
it
an
micronation.
independent principality, and it's called Sealand. And you can buy one of those, you know, become a knight of Sealand,
Called
become
Yeah.
a lord of Sealand. The thing is, you can actually go and visit it. It's just an oil drilling platform in the middle of the sea. You
That's
can
awesome.
see it from one of the coasts. It's tiny, and they've
Yeah.
got their own currency, and the Pikachu is on their currency from Pokemon. So yeah, you
Try
can
and
just
sue
pop
us.
over and see it.
Yeah.
You guys got Sealand, and then you got that other Pokemon guy that bought that little piece of shit island off the coast of Scotland, and he's like
Oh, Yuri Geller.
Einstein like pondered his nuts there, some shit like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
His orbs.
Whatever Kudos talked about that one time.
Yeah, go
fucking-
watch my stupid
One
video on
time.
it. Yeah, no, Uri Geller bought a fucking whole ass island off the Scottish coast that, like, he buried an orb that Einstein. It was like a mystical orb that Einstein owned, which is so like. It's so funny because Einstein seems like such a figure of like math and science, and then he just had a mystical
That's an orb.
He
Yeah.
had a mystical orb.
Like,
just unrelated to like his entire ethos. He also just had one.
Brand.
He's
Yeah.
allowed one spiritual item, and he chose a mystical orb.
You'd think he would have seen what the Manhattan Project would have wrought if he just looked into that mystical
His
orb,
little orb.
and maybe he wouldn't have helped them.
It is
Yeah,
kind of
he
a funny
just thought it
thought
was
to
cool.
think of.
nah, that's gonna fuck up a lot of stuff. Let's just not.
Oh.
Like, put
I like
my
all the
orb
other-
back.
It turned people into shadows. Shit.
I
Or
like
imagine if
Oh,
Einstein was just
crap.
like a total
He
crystal
couldn't use
dick,
it.
like-
He just wanted it so somebody else couldn't have it. Like he
Yeah,
saw that there was a
yeah.
He's a real
wizard just
dick.
on the horizon, and he's
Yeah.
like, "No, you're not having this.
You're
I'm
not
keeping
pondering
this."
My
orb.
orb.
This is
Yeah.
my
My
orb.
orb.
Only I get to look at it.
No,
bitch.
mommy said I play
then-
with the orb.
It's my
And
turn
then the
to play
guy
with the
that
orb.
bends spoons with his mind and plays Pokemon got a hold of it somehow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, James,
life
give,
all went downhill.
James,
Yeah.
give us Albert Einstein finding the crystal orb. Nothing.
He called it Kim Possible.
Josh, let's talk about video games for 2 hours straight. What video games?
What is your favorite? What's
is
your
it?
favorite video game?
Where are they? Where did they all
I'm
go?
good
What
on
is
your
your
question,
favorite?
Kudos, of what video games, just in general.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
what
does a
video
really
games?
from
broad-
the beginning of
video game
time.
soundtracks while crossing your arm.
What's your favorite British video game retailer? Is it Game?
I'm going to be honest, mate. That's pretty much all we've got. Like, we had a company called Game Station. Turns out they were owned by Game anyway, so it was just like the
Game
illusion
Station.
of
The
a,
illusion
of
of
competition. It was just a monopoly. And then
Right.
Game Station's shut down. So far, the English game sellers are Game and Argos. That's about it.
You can't go down to
Because all-
Tesco's and pick up World of Warcraft expansion.
I mean, you can go to
packs.
Tesco's, but
Where
no
did
one is buying
Argos
video
come
games in Tesco's. Like, whenever you walk into Tesco's, there is like a wall of video games.
Yeah.
And I walk up and I'm like, Halo 2, You should probably update your wall of video games. No one's buying games from Tesco's, but you can.
That's kind of cool.
But no, game is pretty solid. You walk in, they've got some board games, they've got some actual video games, they've got some card games. Pretty much every type of game you want, really.
Yeah, that's everything.
Do they have movies?
Yeah,
Is that a thing
we
there?
do live in a blessed time for video games.
They don't have movies though,
Yeah.
because it's fucking stupid. Have you noticed it? Like,
Do they
a
have
lot
any
of-
epic video game merch? Like
Do they have
GameStop?
video game merch? I think they have a Sonic
Yeah.
keyring. That's about it.
Okay.
Just one.
Just-
no one's bought it for like 50
They
years.
have to share it.
Yeah.
You buy a
Can't buy
timeshare
it.
in the
It's just a
Sonic keyring.
tourist attraction. Yeah, it just brings you in to have a look at it.
Well, I don't know about
It's
you,
just a
but I've noticed
rental.
this might be the same in your guys' beautiful countries, but all the EB games here, which are our GameStops, all games, they're pretty much pivoted to merch because no one fucking buys physical games anymore. Like they have
Yeah,
game
GameStop did
consoles.
that.
They've got the most piss poor PC selection you've ever seen because everyone just buys shit on Steam these days. And then now they're like, oh, we're all like merch and like, really shit like Funko Pop plastic type beat.
Yeah, dude. GameStops, it's just like a wall of Funko Pops and then some of the worst T-shirts you've ever seen in your life.
Why have one life when
Like,
I can
you
have
know-
many?
There's Wick and Morty, but they're in Pulp Fiction.
Wick and Morty, but with the
Buy the
Master
shirt.
Chief suit.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's
just
epic.
shit like that. Where you're like, I don't
epic.
want to wear this.
I'm pretty sure to like if you were the stockist for like EB games, they make sure you've got a Reddit count with over
stockist.
100,000
Yeah.
karma.
You gotta
Because
walk
other-
in, you gotta go like this, and then they'll know that you're trying to buy a T-shirt. Like, oh,
Milady.
this guy knows what's up.
Boy, I've
Give
got
him a
just
job.
the shirt for you.
Oh, actually, completely unrelated, but semi-related. That just kicked a memory into my fucking fat noggin. Did you guys ever have a game that your parents like forbid you for playing, but for like really arbitrary reasons? Because I was remembering
Dude, I
last
grew up
night. I
conservative
can't even
Christian.
remember what.
The list is
I'm sure you had a very
So
probably
long.
the most arbitrary. But
Yeah,
I
Andrew
remember-
wasn't
I've got
allowed to
one.
play like Parappa the Rapper.
I remember there's this one game I played on like a demo disc on like the original Xbox. I can't remember the name of it, but it was this like game with this really cool slow-mo Max Payne style, like you could jump and dive, and you're like a guy who's like going to kill like drug cartel guys who are like making drugs and shit. It was something stupid like that. But I remember being it was just this really badass action game, like 2005-ish era, like Xbox original type beat. I remember I asked Dad for the full thing because it was so much fun. And he said no. And he was probably just saying no because he didn't want to buy me a game. Or it might have been like R16
Yeah.
or something. But instead of just saying that, he was like, oh, well, I don't really like encouraging that because, the people in the like people who are doing the stuff that you're killing, even though they're doing bad things like making drugs, they might just be doing it to support their families. And, and my dad has never made that argument
Bad
before
decision
or
in
since
time
Hey,
for
about
shout out.
for
That's the most
anything.
based reason for not allowing your kid to play a video
But it
game
was
I've
ju-
ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong, but it was just really weird. And again,
Son,
like
drug
he's
dealers
bought
are
me
people too.
He's just bought me so many other games that like
Yeah.
have had similar or worse things. Like he bought me Fable when I was like 9 or 10, and he didn't have me being like, "Oh, those villagers you're killing, they've got families." Like,
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah.
such a weird reason that he's never.
But in that game, there's a
Daddy
moral.
bought
There's
me
like a
Leisure
moral
Suit.
rating.
yeah, yeah. don't
I
know.
actually had a very similar experience. It honestly might be the exact same game because for the Xbox original, also I was probably like 4 or 5, maybe like circa 2002, and it was also a cool action game that was like Max Payne before Max Payne. And I just remember this one level where it's like you're in a shipyard full of shipping containers and it's like semi-flooded, and it was the first game I saw with red explodable barrels in it, and I was going sicko mode on that shit. My parents, I was playing a bunch of games like Halo and everything by that point. Like ratings didn't really matter to my parents were gamers, so. But for some reason, I think I was just like addicted to it. They took away this game and they hid it from me, and they said I only couldn't play it for I couldn't play it for a week, but then they lost it. And at that point, it was like my favorite game in my life.
Yeah.
And it's like going on 20 years now that
Still waiting for it
I
back.
can't. Once a month I'll think of this game just out of the blue, and I can't find. I've never been able to find what
Yeah.
game it is, and it's like
It's so
like
painful.
torture. But they took it away from me, like, oh, you shouldn't be playing violent, and then they like let me play Halo and SmackDown.
Those
is
red
like-
barrels are just trying to
think-
support their
it's
family.
Like, It's like I'm 5 years old. I can't get a gun, but if you let me play SmackDown, I broke a kid's neck giving him the tombstone pile driver in like 3rd grade. So it's like you probably should have let me
killed
play
the child.
that one. I really did. I tombstoned my friend and broke his neck. It was fucked up.
That's awesome.
Dude, what?
He's in a wheelchair.
I swear to God.
Yeah, he's still
What
in a
happened to
wheelchair.
him?
He
I'm
can't
invested
walk.
in this. What happened to him?
Yeah,
So,
what's his story
I
arc?
was really into the WWE when I was a little kid, and we were in his
Right.
basement, and he had like one of those big support beams, and he was really short, so he was like Rey Mysterio, and he would like
also
run around
Mexican?
and my he was my favorite wrestler was the Undertaker.
Okay.
So he would run and jump around the support beam and like swing around it and do like the 619 kick on me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, the Undertaker's thing is he turns you upside down and like drops onto the ground. But I didn't realize obviously that the people's head are above his knees,
Yeah,
so
there's
like
a lot
his
of
knees hit
technique
the ground.
involved.
So I just gave it. He gave me the 619, and then I gave him the pile driver. But his head just hit the concrete basement floor, and he broke his neck.
Jesus.
He just had like the Mortal
He wasn't
Kombat like
paralyzed,
zoom in
though.
on his neck and it.
Oh,
Yeah, he just
God.
had to wear one of those big cartoon neck braces for like
Imagine
5
coming to
months.
school the next day with a big marshmallow around his neck.
Yeah.
I
I'm way
did that.
Mysterio.
Shout out my boy Andrew.
Shout out,
Josh, do you have any
Not this
arbitrary,
No,
arbitrary
it's me.
game banishment stories?
No, my parents were annoyingly supportive in my gaming career and
damn
made
it.
it very hard to rebel
Let's
in any
go.
way. So I would walk up and I'm like, Mum, I'm going to play Manhunt. And she's like, okay, dear, have fun.
Okay.
please
like-
let me play Manhunt.
Yeah, well, she's like, here you go. And I'd say, well, fine, I'm going to go and listen to Slipknot. And she's like, okay, cool, it's on the radio, enjoy it. And I'm like, Mother, you're making it very hard to have a rebellious phase. Because you're just
I'm gonna go
supportive
learn
of everything I
calculus
do.
too.
The problem is, whenever I said, hey, I want to go and play this game, and she's like, yeah, that's fine, just play the game, understand that it's fake. And I
Yeah.
played the kind of really violent games for a bit, and after about an hour, I thought, yeah, these are really violent, but they're also really bad games. So I'm going to go back to just playing like SSX Tricky or, Parappa the Rapper for a bit, or just something else on the PlayStation 1. And my mum or dad would walk up to him and be like, where's the really violent game you got? And I'm like, well, honestly, once the novelty of the blood has worn off, the gameplay is lacking, and it's just...
Giving it a
That's
very
what my
critical
analysis-
analysis.
yeah. And they were looking at me like I was
Well, mummy.
8 at the time, and they're like, what do you mean the gameplay's lacking? And I'd sit them down and explain how all the mechanics worked and whatnot. But no, it was difficult to rebel when they just accepted everything. It was
Yeah.
Your mom's.
it was hard to
like, I
have
got you
then
Call
such a
of
loving,
Duty, and you're like,
supportive family.
Mom, listen here. The games are
And then they-
terrible. Like the story, it's lacking. Just
lacking.
don't get me this hog's trollop anymore.
There's the
then they cut away
IGN
to
white
it.
weapons.
And then they cut away to a Conway Twitty.
A Conway upon Twitty.
Yeah,
That is a
that's
Family
a
Guy
Josh
cutaway.
Strife Hayes as Stewie joke for any of the people that didn't get that.
Yeah, Andrew, please edit that entire scene so Josh's
Andrew,
Conway
please
Twitty.
make
Yeah,
Josh's head perfectly football shaped.
Stewie shape.
Andrew, please make Josh's head 20% larger than normal for this entire episode, but enough where you
Yeah.
can't really tell, but
And you can't tell.
And give him like
There's
just a
something
few
off,
hair
but you're not
strands.
sure what it is.
But you're not sure
Just
what.
have it,
Just
have
like-
it slowly increase in size throughout the episode
Yeah.
until the
Just like,
end, where it's
I
much
feel like
bigger.
this guy's really smart, but I don't know why.
He's getting smarter from listening to these guys.
He's getting smarter.
maybe if I listen to their full back catalogue, that might happen to me as well.
head will get bigger.
Wow, maybe if I subscribe to their Patreon for bonus content, my head would be 6 times as large.
super large. Mommy, look how big my head is getting from listening to BeefBoys.
Thank you for letting me play Manhunt, Mummy.
Thank you, Mommy,
Look at
for
my
letting me
head.
watch BeefBoys.
More beef boys for my growing healthy boy.
Speaking of virtual freedom, Josh, massively multiplayering online games.
You ever heard of
What
those
do you
before?
think?
Ding.
Yeah.
I've
Gamesing.
played my fair share of Mamorpagas.
You ever heard of them shit?
What would you like to know about the MMORPG? That's one thing I know
What does
a little
the M
bit
stand
about.
for, and why did they put it in twice?
What does the M stand for?
Yeah.
Why put it in twice? Many. It's actually many men online role-playing
Many
girls.
men.
That's all it is.
Yeah, they're really, really big 50 Cent fans.
Yeah.
Man.
Many men online
Role-playing
running,
girls. That's how you
pissing,
get free
gaming.
stuff in games.
Yeah.
Role playing girls, yeah, that's accurate.
It's like a shirt that was like someone would sell on a Cafe Press store in 2012.
You could probably buy that shirt in game right now.
Yeah,
Probably.
in game, yeah. Right next to the Rick and Morty Master Chief collab.
You know what? So I'm a huge MMO fan. That's how I found Josh's channel all these many moons ago, and I just binged like fucking half your worst MMO ever series, which is a brilliant series, by the way. And then my friend sent me a clip from your Josh Strife Says channel where you said you've been watching my videos, and I was like, what the fuck? Because
I
just been
found you
watching
through
for
Job
ages.
Strife Maze.
I really appreciate that. See, what happened was when I discovered your videos, Kudos, was someone sent me one of your videos, and I thought, oh, this guy's really good at editing, has got good presentation skills, and then
really
you started getting into the video, and I thought, oh, he's really
so
funny, he's really good at writing, he's really good at entertaining, and then you
probably got a
mentioned
big
that you were going to
penis.
make MMO videos, and I thought, you son of a bitch.
You're impeding on my
He's
territory.
entertaining
stepping
several
into
guys
my
in this area. I'm not going to win now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no,
And
it was
then
really
you
good.
plotted to
It's-
assassinate him.
It's still weird
Yeah.
that the people that you grow up watching on YouTube or the people that you end up watching on YouTube, and I was talking to a friend about this earlier today, everyone now is just a tweet or a Discord message
Yeah.
or a YouTube message away, even, celebrities, even
King
super
Charles.
big famous people. And it's so weird that I can, if I want to, wake up and tell Elon Musk to go fuck himself. Like, if I want to do that, I can
Which
do
you
that.
should do, by the way.
And he
Years ago,
specifically
you'd
would
have had to
probably
write
Yeah,
a
you
letter, you'd
definitely
have had to
should.
find his address. It's so
Yeah.
difficult to do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the first time I met a lot of YouTubers that I followed for a long time, there is still that kind of fangirl moment where
yeah.
you're a little bit intimidated to be standing in front of them and talking to them, and then you realize that they're just normal people who sit in rooms and play video games all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And I think
exactly so.
applying that mindset as a lonely man online to beautiful famous women that you really adore, and messaging them, one message a day.
Hello, beautiful.
Two
Really
messages
look
a
forward to
day.
meeting them in real life.
Yeah.
Finding
Go to
out more.
Bangladesh.
Yeah,
Sending them
cursing them
pictures of
out
your
and telling them to
penis.
kill themselves when they don't respond.
Yeah.
I think
Don't
if
send
we
pussy pic.
if we all apply that, this fucking bug. Dude, I've had this gnat all
James
day.
is
Dude,
shadow boxing and-
this gnat. I'm sorry. This gnat all day it has flown in my fucking nostril like 3 or 4 times, and it's like there's no feeling like a bug, like another
He's trying to
living
hijack
thing
your brain,
flying
bro.
in your fucking dude. He's like Scrappy
Yeah, he's
doing
gonna
me.
hack the
James-
mainframe.
Fucking turn me into live action Scrappy Doo.
James
You're
did
gonna
one
make like
AoE attack
Ratatouille.
earlier.
It's just a gnat.
It's so fucking annoying.
James did one AoE attack earlier and accidentally clipped a level 1 swarm of gnats,
Yeah.
and it's just been aggroed to him ever since.
Yeah.
Speaking of MMOs, I think one of the most like supreme vibes I can ever imagine in a game. Something about this just like makes my brain go straight serotonin mode.
Buzz
is-
Habbo
mode.
Hotel.
There was a brief while in EverQuest where you could order, I think it was Pizza Hut through an in-game menu, and the idea of ordering a Pizza
Yo.
Hut pizza in-game to settle in for a big night of playing EverQuest with your boys circa like 2000 is like, oh, that's
Why
such
Why hasn't
a vibe.
GTA done that?
Why hasn't
Imagine, like,
every
running
game
from the
done
police
that?
and
Why hasn't
calling
any other
Domino's?
game done that? Yeah.
They
Yeah.
should do
Just
that.
like-
I guess
Help!
if a game did that now, it would be such a bad gimmick, and everyone would be like, "Oh, corporation, fucking," which it kind of does feel that way. But in 2000, yeah, that's sick as fuck. Like
Yeah.
before the internet even loads in like less
Yeah.
than 8 seconds.
Yeah,
And you
no,
can
like-
order
It
a
takes you
pizza in a
30
video
minutes
game.
to order the pizza.
Yeah, you're
Couldn't
like
you
standing
do
there getting
that?
killed by the same mob 5
Yeah,
times
you
trying to
Didn't
order
like
a pepperoni
Japanese
pizza.
Wii's? Didn't like Japanese Wii's have like it was like an early version of
They turned into a
DoorDash.
big transformer, like a giant
Yeah,
transformer.
and they
that
suck
would
you off in
fucking-
your living room.
All
Yeah, they-
Japanese Wii's are
they have
actually
sex with
Gundams. They
you.
just like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
also expensive.
Gonna
Yeah.
give you head.
I think
Before
you
you
might be
play
right,
Mario.
though. I also saw on the 3DS you could like download. I saw a picture the other day where someone like ordered food at a baseball game, but you could buy. There was some. You could open your 3DS and it would be like, oh hey, there's like
Mario.
because of the
corn dog.
area you're in, because it had all that like RFID shit. It could figure out like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
you're in this place. Download this app here, and this guy did it, and it literally just lets you look through like the menu and order food like through your 3DS. So it's like
That's
the
kind of
fuck?
epic.
Nintendo was
Cool.
just. You always see those crazy things coming out of
You-
Japan where it's like, oh, in 1998, you were able to order fucking Japanese Domino's through the N64 with this random plugin that only came out in Japan and was discontinued in 3 seconds.
yeah, you got
Ordering
to
a
get the
hooker on my original Game
N64
Boy.
pizza pack.
Yeah, the pizza pack.
The pizza pack, you got to put it into
Like
your
a-
controller.
Yeah, it's like a piece of hardware. Yeah, exactly.
It's a full
What if
pizza
you, like,
oven
walk
attached to
by
the
a kid
N64.
and
Yeah.
What if you like walk by a kid in the hallway and it was like four tater tots in his left cargo pocket,
And then you
just
kicked it because you're hungry.
Give me your
They wouldn't give you
Yeah,
anything.
exactly.
Took me a while. Josh, let's talk about MMOs.
Some of your tots.
That was the most out of left field Napoleon Dynamite reference.
Whenever I think of, I was trying to just make a joke like it could scan food in your like someone you want. Like, but whenever I think of food in a pocket, it's just fucking Napoleon Dynamite with tater
It's
tots.
the same thing. You get
I
your
can't
tots
help it.
kicked.
Oh god.
Well,
Josh, what was the very first MMO you played?
and why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, what was the thought
Loneliness,
process? Take us
mostly.
inside the
But,
mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was like everyone gets slowly drawn to MMOs because deep down everyone kind of knows they're depressed and they're like, I should
Yeah.
probably start this early. Get some.
Yeah,
of
it
the
should
early
probably
levels
start
going in.
cutting wood.
But I think it
praying
was
a lot.
in high school. It was RuneScape, and that was because
Yeah.
RuneScape. And I've made a lot of videos on this about why RuneScape dominated so much in the early days. It didn't need a download. RuneScape was able to run directly from the browser, and one of RuneScape's earliest competitions was Asheron's Call. And Asheron's Call did require a download, and most school computers or library computers didn't let you download any programs or run any executables.
Yeah.
So the fact that RuneScape can run straight from the browser was one of the reasons that it absolutely dominated both library and school computers. It got around all of those filters.
Yeah.
But yeah, me and my friends playing RuneScape at lunchtime. As soon as lunchtime would start in school, we would just run to the school computer room to sit down and grab the first couple of computers. Even if we knew that it was going to be like an update date and all we'd be doing is just staring at the login screen for like half an hour,
Yeah.
that was still
Bruh.
better than doing anything else.
Yeah.
That's like
did you
one of the
ever do
most
that?
supreme vibes I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that and then like the librarian or whatever would like kick you out because you were in there? It's like, oh, you
And
kids need to
kiss
go and
you.
do, you've been in here for 3 days already. You need to go outside and do something else. And you're like, no!
You've been
What
shitting
was
on the
super cool,
floor.
actually, was that our librarian didn't really care, and what we had was a load of student volunteers from like the
Sure.
higher years that would help make sure the library was there. So a lot of
Yep,
my
still
friends had
there.
older brothers.
Yep.
Yep, still there. Been walking and
Yep.
go, yep, still there.
They just keep an
look
eye
at
out
the
to make sure it
building.
doesn't
Thank
operate out of the
God.
building.
Yeah.
They'd run all
There
the
it is.
computers, so whenever we walked in, they'd have a computer saved for us, a RuneScape loaded up, which was
hell
pretty cool.
yeah.
Legends.
That's so epic.
Hell yeah.
My first
Yeah, I
MMO
feel like
was
that was,
Ragnarok Online.
Oh god.
I've never heard
Yeah,
of it.
there was lots of other MMOs that tried, and lots that died, and lots that should have died. And here's one thing that I tend to explain to people. You know when people say that music from like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s was really good? That's because you remember the good stuff and the crap stuff dies and no one listens to it anymore. There was crap in every decade. The strange thing with MMORPGs is the chaff doesn't seem to filter itself out. There is still junk MMOs from 10 to 15 years ago still going, and someone will walk up and go, oh man, that was really good. I'm like, no, it wasn't good then, it isn't good now. I don't know how it's survived. It's just kept going somehow because there's like 5 people in the world throwing all their earnings into it, and it's run by one guy out of like a shipping container or something. But
Like that Coca-Cola MMO. Did you ever play the Coca-Cola MMO?
I did not play the Coca-Cola
Is that
MMO.
real?
Now I
What is
need
the
to.
Coca-Cola
Is this an advert you
MMO?
thought was a real thing? Or was this actually
No,
real?
this was I played this game. It was
Okay.
a Coca-Cola MMO.
Doplex
it
saw a
was
Super
literally
Bowl ad back in
Because you
like
ordered pizza from
2009. He
it.
was like, that game looks epic. I want to play that.
It was
I wanna
literally you
play
just
the
have like a
Coca-Cola
little
polar
vending
bear.
machine in your area, and you just get like I don't
You
even remember
literally just buy
exactly the
Coke.
premise.
That's the whole game.
Yeah, it was
Everyone
literally
takes
just
turns
like
going up to a vending machine in a void,
Yeah.
just buying Coke.
yeah, you just walk around like a little fucking lobby and you listen to music. You just buy Coke. Like that's literally
It
all
wasn't
it was.
Oh,
even-
so
and
it was
I
like
played
a
it lot.
Second Life sort of thing, but with Coke.
Kinda, yeah.
So it wasn't
yeah,
even
but it
it
was
was more just like an online
I feel like
Coke themed
yeah,
experience.
yeah. There really wasn't much like
Get the
like
full
progression
Coke
to
vending
it.
machine experience.
You get cooler, you
Wow,
get
this
cooler
is
vending
just like
machines.
real life.
Yeah,
Yeah, when are we getting worst MMO ever? The Coke MMO.
I got.
I think if you
groomed in
told
the
everyone that
Coke
you're going to
MMO.
meet up in an online forum and everyone's going to do some Coke for a bit, when they actually arrive and it's a Coca-Cola themed MMO,
Yeah.
some
God damn
people
it.
would be disappointed.
Yeah.
Some would have approached with the wrong energy, you know?
Yeah.
yeah.
I want anyone who's listening to this, if you have played this Coca-Cola
Do Coke.
MMO I'm thinking of, please let us know in the comments so I know I'm not crazy.
Did you, Josh?
I'm
Did
going to
you ever
Google
play
this right
the?
now and find out what it is.
Everybody gaslight Doplex into thinking he made it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Josh, did you ever
Please
play
do.
/ when are
I
you
need to
going to
be
make a
humble.
6-part series on the Family Guy MMO? The failed
Yeah.
Family Guy MMO,
Yeah.
where you can
You
play as
assume that I'm not. Apparently, My Coke was an online chat game used for marketing in
That was it.
2002.
Oh,
Yes.
It looks
okay.
like Habbo
That was
Hotel.
two.
Yeah.
It looks
So it's
exactly
an
like
ad.
Habbo Hotel.
It
Oh,
is.
okay.
It straight up was just a ripoff of Habbo. It's fucking it was nothing.
That's
No,
wild.
yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real
Yeah.
genuine thing.
Hell
the
yeah.
Family Guy MMO. Was that thing that, like, one of those tap-style mobile games that...
No, there's
like
that
The
too. But
Simpsons
no,
had
this
one.
is
And
this is like a full-on like third-person RPG where you could
does it
you
exist
made your
still?
own
Is it still
original
online?
character, and it was based like the characters were based on the different family members. So you could either make your own Peter, your own Lois, your own
Make your own Peter.
your own. I'm not kidding. This is
600
real.
Peters
Finally.
falling down the stairs at the same
Yeah.
like
Customizable Peter.
when they started Vanilla WoW in like 2020 and everyone's waiting in line to get in, just
Yeah.
600 Peters waiting in line to fall down the stairs and like 200
Same
fucking
intro
Clevelands
cutscene.
waiting to
Yeah.
point and laugh at the fucking
Make your own
Peter.
Cleveland Brown.
Okay, so the Family
I
Guy
got
MMO
Cleveland.
launched in 2012, and hang on, no, wait, what? It launched on December 2012 and shut down January 2013.
So a nice long
months.
run.
The Mayans were right about the collapse
Yeah,
of the
that's-
world.
that's what that
It was just
calendar
a
was.
virtual
You
quahog.
could have watched every episode of
fall of
actual
Rhode
Family Guy
Island.
between the start of that
Yeah.
game and the end of its lifespan.
The end. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Well, they were like so late on MMOs already at that point. Like everything Family Guy does is late. They're 3 years late on jokes. They're 5 years late on games.
Yeah,
Seth MacFarlane is
Yeah.
late to his airplane on 9/11.
that's right.
Fuck! He would have stopped it.
I've always wanted to play it because I remember seeing a trailer for it and thinking that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. Like, it's
It
just
looks like it just uses the fucking engine from the Family Guy video game.
It probably
which is a
did.
great game, by the way.
Probably does, yeah.
It honestly
Yeah.
probably did, but like it was the clips I saw was you get quests from Peter and Cleveland and all the gang, and you just go around and do goofy Family Guy shit. Holy fuck! For some
That's
reason,
dumb.
for some reason they thought they could carry a whole MMO.
Yeah.
Like people would want to dedicate their lives to it.
Honestly, like if they came out with that today, I think people would play it just like literally for the meme and nothing else. Like I think
Probably.
it could have some footing.
I had a viral tweet about the Family Guy MMO. I think I said, "Sorry, babe, I can't
Did
come
you?
up tonight. It's raid night in the Family Guy MMO," and with a picture of it. But Josh,
You started on
Josh.
RuneScape.
I did.
I feel like tons of people played RuneScape, and then over the last, I'd say 6 or 7 years, it had a resurgence. Were you someone that started on RuneScape, fell away from it, and then came back, or have you been 20-something years of RuneScape?
Oh, I left as
Straight.
soon as they did the Evolution of Combat update, which was where a load of engineers sat down and went, "We think our game would be better if it was completely different in its core concept." And then the entire player base went, "No."
the entire player
and then it
base
left, and then it
Wait,
then it
There we go.
failed, and then about a couple of
Yeah.
years later, they went, "Maybe we should just do like a test. We should bring the old game back as it was
Yeah.
to prove you players wrong." They're like, "Well,
You
okay,
fucking
guys, you know
idiots."
what?
Yeah.
Bring it back exactly as it was in the past, and we'll see how many people play it." Turns out everyone was.
Yeah, everyone really liked it.
So yeah,
Yeah.
The evolution of combat happened. I've tried to log into RuneScape 3 and play it every now and again, and it's fine, but it's lost a lot of the core soul of what it was. It'd be like
got
if
that
Call of
charm.
Duty became like a third-person parkour style game, and they went, "This is better," and everyone went, "No, it's
They
not
did
what
try
we
that
want.
for a
It's
few
not
years.
what we've come to love."
yeah,
So yeah, I played RuneScape for a bit. That changed, moved away, tried every other MMO, moved back to RuneScape because no one quits RuneScape. You just take long breaks in between
Yeah.
playing it.
Yeah, I'm currently on my longest break, but I'm about to get back into it because I just
I've never played it. I've
the
never.
vibes
even
are
spent
too
one
good.
We all
minute.
Man.
gotta
I
play it.
love the
Well,
music
because
in that game.
I
Yeah,
played it
let's play some
very, very
RuneScape.
briefly in high school, but I was into WoW at that
I'm
point.
down.
And back in the day, like I think WoW definitely kind of blew RuneScape out of the park when it came to at the time,
yeah.
because like RuneScape's
Sure.
this piddly little browser game, and WoW's like this big epic thing or whatever you have to pay money for. But recently,
makes you
when
go,
I researched the
"Wow."
RuneScape video, I tried RuneScape 3 and I was like, yeah, this is all right. It's fine. And then I tried old school RuneScape as well, just, because pretty much all the stories I covered in that video that Josh was in were pretty much about old school. So I was like, well, I should probably give old school
Yeah.
a crack. And immediately you're like, oh, I get it. Oh, this is so much better. Like,
It's
Yeah.
very simple. There's
Yeah.
a difference between
Yeah.
complexity and depth, and I try and explain this to people. Anyone can make something complicated. You just put way too many variables into it with way too many
Yeah.
things that interact in way too many different ways. But to make something deep, you only need a couple of things that interact with lots of other things in remarkably interesting ways. So RuneScape 3 is complicated. There is so much stuff to it. There are so many UIs, there are so many screens, there are so many spells, so many abilities. It's complex to learn. Old school RuneScape is deep, as in you can look and like understand there are 3 things you need to do, but you need to do them in like 100 different orders at any given time. And it's not overwhelming in the sense that you always know what you're meant to be doing next. You always know, right, I'm playing this, I'm doing this, I'm playing this, I'm doing this. RuneScape 3, there's like 1,000 things you need to do at exactly the same time. Old school RuneScape is comforting, it's easy, it's nostalgic even if you've never played it. You sit down, you turn it on, the graphics are super blocky, and people have gone, why don't you update the graphics? I'm like, for the same reason that you don't need to make every animated thing into a live action thing. Sometimes the medium that it's put across in
realism is a
part of the feel
style,
of it.
not a solution.
Not a goal.
Yeah, and the style of
Okay.
RuneScape was old and simple and blocky, and it works really well, and it's extremely marketable and noticeable, and style lasts longer than photorealism. So old school RuneScape's got this very defined style.
100%.
That's why I like.
We've
Yeah,
talked
that's- I
about
mean,
this before,
That's
but
why
like,
Halo is still a beautiful game, like
Yeah.
Halo
But-
3, because it's all art style.
yeah, and the just a lot of the older games because you have less pixels and like if everything's very polygonal, so you're the thing you lean on to make something visually interesting is then color, which is when the PS3 came out and everyone was like, "Holy shit,
Let's make
we can
everything
make
dipped in
we can make
tea."
penises look real."
Yeah.
And they just took
Everything's
all the color out
brown.
of it. Yeah, everything's gray
Yeah.
and brown. It just looked like dog shit.
That's why, like, every time I see a new MMO come out that they do go for realism, I'm like, oh god, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
Stick a fork in him. Even like Guild Wars 2, which I do love. I love that game, but I feel like they did skew slightly realer than, like, it's still very fantastical and you've got these like crazy, characters and everything. But I feel like something like World of Warcraft, I mean, you can go back to WoW Classic. It's definitely dated. It's 20 years old this year, I think, which is fun.
But it's noticeable and it's recognizable, and the blocky shoulder pads and
it's
the big,
simple and
big
it's
flat
like the silhouettes
textures.
are good, and it's just it's easy to look at, and so I look at other games coming out, even if they are like New World is definitely stylized to a degree, but it's still like, is this going to look good in 5 years? Is this going to look good in 10 years? Am I still going to want to play this then? No, but
If
in
you do a
theory,
style well enough, what happens is whenever someone else makes anything in that style, that thing gets called a copy of you.
yeah.
And if you can dominate a style, as in you make the best example of it, you make the best game within that, every future game like that is going to be compared to you. And unless they're better than you, when they are compared to you, that's actually marketing for you.
Yeah.
Because people are going to go, oh, it's being compared to this. I'll go and have a look at the original. This was one of the reasons that Rift failed. When Rift, the MMO, came out, their first marketing kind of major campaign was a big poster that said, "You're not in Azeroth anymore." And all that did was make people question what the hell Azeroth was. And then people researched it, discovered that Azeroth was World of Warcraft, played World of Warcraft, which at the time was better than Rift. And then everyone just played World of Warcraft. So, ironically, by creating a game that attempted to not necessarily copy the style, but mention it at all, they increased their opponent's player base. So, when you make something in a certain style, if you are the best, you become known for that style. And now you see all the MMOs coming out of Korea, which look like massive, overly stylized, huge, massive, muscular men, incredibly slim, petite girls with massive, over-the-top weapons. They all
Wasn't
look
sure where
exactly
that
the
was
same.
going.
Yeah, I
was
thought you were gonna
the
say
one
tits.
I was
They all
gonna
look the
say.
same. And I can't tell the difference.
Giant Fuda dick. I think to that point, like you said, if you're trying to enter that like similar niche or market and then immediately compare yourself, you're probably going to lose. I think we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years a lot of indie devs finding success even more so than like mainstream like AAA developers trying to launch like new titles and new games and all this, because when you are, everything's already been done, and a lot of good indie devs will enter obviously a market that's already been done, 10x, the money, 10x the size, 10x everything. But you actually want to niche down instead of try to expand and be like, I can give you everything. It's like, well, no, I can give you a isolated, incredibly,
Really
palatable
experience.
and depthful experience, very targeted at, you're going to do this and you're going to do it well and it's going to be a good old time, which
it's much more
you're
curated.
spot on. You're absolutely spot on. This links back really specifically to something that I learned very early on when I was studying acting in university. they said that instead of being a pretty good dancer and a pretty good actor and a pretty good singer and a pretty good stuntman, just do one thing ridiculously well. Because if someone is ill and if someone has a headache and they run into the bathroom cabinet and they start searching through medicines and they find a bottle that says stops headaches right now, they're going to go for that. If they find a bottle that says kind of stops headaches, kind of stops feeling ill, kind of does this, kind of does that, no one is ever going to use that bottle for anything, because even though it does everything, it does everything terribly. So when you do one thing ridiculously well, people will go to you for that, like Vampire Survivors recently. One thing ridiculously well. And when you mentioned about people going into indie devs creating games without as much money, I'm a big fan of something called limitation breeds creativity. If you limit what you can do, you are forced to be creative with what you have. And we've actually got 2 excellent examples of this in film recently. You've seen the first Deadpool film?
Yes.
You know at the very end when he says, "Where are the guns?" and they realize they were in the back of the taxi, and he kind of gets annoyed, and then there's like a big melee fist fight at the end.
Yeah.
That was because they ran out of budget and they didn't have enough money for a big gunfight. So they said, just add in the idea that we left the guns in the taxi and we'll have a fist fight.
Yeah.
And when they were
Such a good
making the
bit.
film Joker, they just kept reducing Joker's budget, just down and down and down and down and down. And eventually they couldn't really afford any big set pieces. So they had to film it in hotels, in the subway, on the street, in like a street bathroom somewhere. And it ended up being fantastic because limitation breeds creativity.
Yeah.
These small games are hugely limited in what they can do. And so they're forced to be creative within that limitation. If you give someone an unlimited budget, nothing creative happens because they just end up buying.
Was it called Star Citizen? It's that.
Oh yeah.
Star Citizen is an example of feature creep, just endless feature creep. Oh, we can do this and this and this and this and this. Okay, cool. Do one thing really well and then add another thing really well. Don't do everything terribly.
I definitely agree, and I've talked about this before on my own channel. Like, you see that mirrored on the player side as well, where when a game gives you an example I use is Outer Worlds. I love that game. It's from Obsidian. They obviously made Fallout New Vegas, which is considered one of the best Fallouts in the series. What I think they did wrong there that they didn't do in New Vegas is in Outer Worlds they gave you every single system that you would expect from like a AAA game in that RPG, but none of them. By the end of the game you could spec out every single system. There wasn't. You never had to specialize in anything.
Yeah.
But in that, by the end of the game, nothing felt useful. It just felt like you kind of got to the end of the game and now you just can do anything. Whereas in New Vegas, being able to kind of spec down and like putting a box around people makes players want to break out of the box and think out of the box and imagine out of the box. And whether that be through glitching the game, modding the game, or just playing the game in a unique niche style that you're allowed to take to a length that can support you throughout an entire playthrough. So then you can you can restart the game again and play it in an incredibly different way and take that to the end of the game. Putting the players in a box and letting them have to breed their own creativity rather than give them the tools to do everything almost creates a more worthwhile experience.
This was the creation of rocket jumping from Quake. People realized that if you shot a rocket at the floor and then jumped, the explosion would boost you slightly higher and therefore let you make jumps you weren't able to. And when the developers realized people were doing this, they went, just let them carry on. We'll even put jumps in the game now that require you to rocket jump. This was an emergent gameplay thing.
Yep, same
that
with
we have
Halo.
now adapted. And I think what good developers do is they realize the kind of experience they want their game to give, and then they really kind of niche down to make sure that is the main experience that you have in that game. A great example that I really loved is the remade Doom in, I think it was 2016 when it came out. Have you guys played the remake of Doom? Not the Doom Eternal, but just Doom. Well, there's a great scene in the first level where you're given the narrative and the character kind of picks up the TV and there's a doctor on the TV and it's like, we tried to, and then before the doctor can finish, Doom Guy just punches the telly, breaks it, throws it down, pulls his gun out and goes and shoots the demons. And that's the kind of game designer saying, you don't care about the backstory. You don't care about the plot. There are demons. Here's a shotgun. Go and deal with it. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
You just want to
what
hear
I respected
the
about
guitar
that,
riff.
and what I like about the idea of developers giving specifics within their game is they know exactly what experience they want the player to have. They focus on giving them that, and if the player wants to go and have another experience outside of that, That's fine.
Exactly.
People have done pacifist runs of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
People have done, magic-only runs of Dark Souls. People have done... They've played Dark Souls on a dance mat.
Yeah.
And the people that do that in
most
spite of
experience
it
that
will
you can.
find...
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll find so much more fun doing it in... Not necessarily in spite of the developers, but in spite of
Yeah.
the viewpoint
Adversity.
of the game.
developers have put adversity in the game, and then you go, right, I'm going to do it anyway. When you allow
And it's
the
so much more
player
satisfying to find that adversity and challenge it yourself, rather
Yeah.
than them giving you the tool to challenge everything. EA challenge everything.
We should hit some motherfucking pregunters.
Josh actually accidentally answered one of the questions that Deep Dick Pizza had, so I'm sorry we didn't get to ask it. But he was basically like, "What do you think about complexity versus depth in MMOs?" And Josh sensed that through the grapevine.
He just
felt
felt
it
it.
in
and
his
he
lungs.
motherfucking
it's
hit that
such
shit.
a massive game design thing in general. Anyone
yeah,
can
it
make
is.
something complicated. If you sit
Yeah.
down, look at a system, and go, "I have no idea what's going on here," then it's complicated. If you sit down, look at
Yeah.
a system, spend some time with it, and go, "Right, I understand exactly what's going on, but I don't quite know how many variations I have access to," then it's
Yeah.
deep, and that's fine. Chess is a deep game, but it's relatively simple to understand. Once you know what all the pieces do, you're like, okay, cool, I get how every single thing interacts here, but I don't know how to win every single game because you cannot predict every possible combination. It's not super complex, but it's remarkably deep. If you want to make something complicated, just add in way too many variables that people can't understand, can't explain, and can't remember. If
And
you
a
wanna make
crazy
something
fucking
deep,
UI.
add in like 5 or 6 things that you can remember, and then find loads of ways for these to interact with each other.
I saw that in your
I think
in your D&D online video you put out a couple of days ago, like just the part where there's like 50 million different like skills, and there's like traits, racial traits, class
too
traits,
much.
and all this. But like those systems would be really cool if they were introduced over time, because like that's always fun in a game when you get to like level 20 and you're like, I feel like I've seen pretty much all the systems this game has, and then all of a sudden the game's like, boom, here's another thing, and you're like, oh wow, this is cool. Now it's something else to get my head around, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how one of my favorite old games, Soul Reaver on the PlayStation 1, does it. Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, every time you defeat a boss, you absorb the power and get that boss's power. So as you go through the game, you slowly get more and more things added to your repertoire, your abilities, which
That's my
opens up
favorite
more of the
mechanic
game. So
in
you start
games.
the game,
That
you
is
realize,
cool as hell.
I can't yet go over there because I can't climb walls. I can't go over there because I can't swim. I can't go over there because I can't kill the enemy. As you do things, by the end of the game, you can climb walls, you can swim, you can kill all the enemies. It's suddenly much deeper, but it doesn't necessarily feel complicated because you've been introduced to everything slowly and you've had a chance to understand it before you have to go off and use it. Dungeons and Dragons Online is remarkably deep. The problem is it's presented in a complex way. Had it have been presented in a much simpler, easier way, giving you one thing, then letting you use it, another thing, letting you use it, and then by the time you've played for like 10 hours, you're like, oh yeah, I've used all 100 things. I know what each thing now does.
Yeah.
I think that's why you see a lot of games like I was just playing God of War Ragnarok and Jedi Survivor, and both of them do a thing where basically they reuse parts of the map from that you've already traversed throughout the game, and you can see in God of War this door sealed by a big fucking blue rhomboid or whatever the fucking trapezoid. Fucking, and you see that though, you keep running past that, and then
The trapezoid boy.
you fight some, I'm not gonna. You fight some boss or
You
some
fight the
shit, and then it's
trapezoid
like,
boss.
oh, I get it. Yeah, you fight the rhomboid, and then you get the rhomboid fucking arm that you can put in the rhomboid door. But
There is a boss
or
that
in
is just
Jedi
an orb.
Survivor, like in Jedi Survivor, you see these electricity things, and somewhere near them is a red box, and boxes are usually able to be looted, but you can't loot them. But eventually in the game, you get the little fucking electricity shotgun, and then you can go back through the whole game, and the map is now. The map now has a second layer of depth that you've kind of
And that's what deep is, and that's what the best thing about it is. When people say,
And you've been
this
eased
game has a
into
really
it.
good opening system, what they actually mean is, this game has a really good hidden tutorial that's teaching me all of its depth without being overly complicated.
Yeah.
It's easing you, because you run by and think, oh, well, how am I going to get that chest? Oh, there's a shotgun. How am I going to... I see that, because then at some point you get a thing on the map that shows you where all the unopened chests are deep into the game, and it's like, oh, well, I can't get to this chest. It's on the inside of a mountain. But then you see there's a green shield door, and it's like, oh well, you're like slowly introduced to these things visually, and then you get to perceive them, knowing that you at this point can't even interact with them, but it gets your brain going. And then when you do get it, it's like I literally can remember where every single fucking all 11 green doors that I've passed so far that I can't get through are. And now I'm going to go back and spend 3 hours before I go through what might be a relatively short main story and extend my experience by going through all these things I've anticipated for hours.
It's like the early Legend of Zelda games, when every time you get an item from a dungeon, you realize that the world you've traveled through already has interaction with that item you can go back and do. The problem with MMORPG games is whenever they create a new system, they think, right, we have to include this system in everything a player could possibly experience. And when a new player joins, instead of saying, hey, we're going to let you play through the game and introduce you to all the systems as you would naturally find them, they kind of go, hey, here are 15 years worth of systems that we have slowly introduced to every other player. Memorize all of them immediately and then go and use all of them right now.
And then also, because we're embarrassed of the intro sequence, here's a free item that skips you to the max level for no reason.
Exactly.
I've often said to people, if the intro of your game is bad at doing what it's meant to do, which is introducing people to your game, then you don't have an intro sequence. You have a small bit of torture that you want new players to play through.
You have a barrier,
to almost
literally.
gain the prestige to play the rest of the game.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, James is the perfect case example of that, because obviously so are we, but like him coming in after we told him like how good of a game it was, and then him hitting that fucking rock that is
I bought it on release and quit 3 times up until like this February.
Yeah, because it's literally like just it's a barrier to entry.
It is a narrative fucking like brick
it moves
wall.
So slow, but once you get past that, the game is good. But it's just like getting through that fucking wall that is that whole intro sequence.
You know what game does the opening up really well? I've been playing through Hollow Knight because I'm super excited for Silksong coming out soon. And I think that game, the way the map and like the areas are laid out, you have to explore kind of the first bit. And then when you beat a boss, that gets you into a next level. And then you go through that. And something there that you kind of got in a third place will open up something that you can do over here. Like the way you beat bosses and collect abilities like, double jump or wall jump or dash and shit like that, it opens up more of levels you've already been through. So you'll be like, oh shit, I needed the wall jump to get up to this little, crevice back in the very first level. So then you can go back and you just do so much shit.
I think the consensus of the podcast is that we really like Metroidvania games. I think that's the vibe. Is that we think
so.
I've never played a Metroidvania.
One big open world
James, you just
that
described
you can interact with in increasing complexity. Metroidvania, named off Super Metroid and Castlevania. Again, that does it really well in 3D would be Dark Souls. Dark Souls. If you played Dark Souls 3, the first boss in Dark Souls 3 is called Idux Gundir, which actually means the judge within the Dark Souls universe. And the idea is that that boss is judging whether you are capable of finishing the rest of the game. Because you have to dodge, there is a phase, and then you have to parry, and then you have to jump. If you can get past that opening sequence, you've got every skill you need for the entire game. Elden Ring did it really well with its optional kind of intro section. And then you can pop into the Elden Ring world if you want to. But yeah, Metroidvanias of here is an entire world, take it on at your own pace, but there is an ideal path. They've done really well, and they will continue to do really well.
Yeah, I mean,
I always thought Metroidvania was like Hades or some shit.
So Jedi Survivor.
I never understood what that meant.
No, that's a roguelike. Metroidvania is literally Jedi Survivor and God of War. Any game where like you can explore the whole world, but there'll be a bunch of parts that are inaccessible until you acquire an ability that will then allow you to traverse through them.
Go back and then open those
That's
paths.
my favorite open world.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night on PlayStation 1, you can go and take on the final boss about 20% into the game. Once you've got the ability to turn into a bat, you can fly up to Dracula's castle, take him on, and that's it. The entire game is done. Everything else is optional. So it's the same with Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring has something like 45 bosses, but you only actually need to kill 3 of them to get to the final boss.
Breath another great
effectively
example.
see the end of the game.
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, you can go right to Ganon if you want.
Like off-rip.
They literally give you the objective, defeat Ganon.
Which
and
is
like
such a baller move off-rip. Just to be like, go kill him. Also, here's 100
kill
hours
the
of
boss. Yeah.
It's like any other game starting and it just says beat the game and that's your one challenge.
Yeah, beat
Like,
the
oh,
The
game.
thanks.
game that I'm replaying right now for the next Was It Good on the Plays channel is an old SNES RPG called Chrono Trigger. And Chrono Trigger's one of my
I still
favorite
want to
games
play
of all time.
that.
If
It's
you play
so
Chrono
hard.
Trigger, it's brilliant. So I was researching into it. Chrono Trigger has 14 different endings. And the interesting thing about Chrono Trigger, if you've not played it, is you kind of travel through time to fix various problems in various time zones. And as you fix stuff in history, it changes stuff in modern time, which changes stuff in the future. But you can actually go and take on the final boss after about an hour in the game. The ending that you get after killing the final boss entirely depends on how much stuff you've fixed through history. So if you just decide to stop after you've fixed the dinosaur problem but not done anything else, you kill the final boss and turns out the entire world's now taken over by dinosaurs. If you fix the dinosaur problem and then go and help the wizard war and then kill the final boss, the world's now taken over by wizards. So you can choose how effectively history continues based on how much game you've done.
That's a really cool concept.
That's
fucking
sick.
awesome. I've been wanting to play Chrono Trigger just because obviously I love because it's Akira Toriyama, like his art style, right? That's kind of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like it was like a dream team of like the dude who does Final Fantasy?
Pretty much
and then
everything
Akira
came together to make this
Toriyama
game
on-
work, and it's been re-released and re-released so many times now. I think it's on the DS, it was on the SNES, it was on I think it's on the Switch now as well. You can get Chrono Trigger everywhere. And whenever you Google, best RPGs of all time, it's always in the top 3 without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to
I
check that out.
really want to
what's
play
a
that.
crazy Metroidvania I've been playing, or I played that I never actually finished, but I loved and did some crazy shit was Tunic, which is a more modern indie game. But what's buzzy about that is, and I love this, the whole concept around it is you have an in-game manual that's styled over old game manuals like you'd get in like an N64 or whatever
that's
thing.
sick.
And it's even got like
Yeah.
the fucking ink, like you can zoom right in and see like the ink like cross-hatching and shit as that was really printed.
Yeah.
And throughout the game,
That's
you
cool.
find pages of this manual, and this manual not only teaches you how to play the game, as in the controls and stuff, and has like maps for certain areas. It gives you clues on how to defeat enemies, and it also has clues on how to find secrets because there's shitloads of secrets in the game, and a lot of them are there because it's like the manual's already been drawn on by some other kid. So it's like there'll be like a little arrow pointing to like this one thing. And also none of it's in English. It's all in like this made up language. So you have to kind of decipher. It's almost like you got a manual in Japanese or something. You have to be like, okay, what the fuck does this mean? Like reading through it. But what's crazy is there's certain things in the game that, as far as I know, you can do from the start of the game. But it's specific esoteric button presses that you wouldn't learn until you read the manual. And also to know where to use those things. And so like...
It's like Metal Gear Solid.
Oh yeah.
I'll give you an
shit.
example from Chrono Trigger that I've actually just run into, and it's not a massive spoiler, but there's a bit where you have to go through a factory, and you get to a door, and the door's locked, and it says, please input the code, password, Zabi, Z-A-B-I-E. And Zabi doesn't mean anything to me. I'm like, I've got no idea what Zabi means. But Chrono Trigger is very much aware that it's a game, and it breaks the fourth wall a lot.
Sure.
And there's another part of the factory that you can travel through in order to get hints for what the password actually means. So I traveled through the other section, and at the end I found a manual where it said, Zabi is phonetic. It's related to the SNES controller. You have to press X-A-B-Y, which will be pronounced Zabi. So I traveled all the way back to the door, stood in front of it, and pressed X-A-B-Y on the SNES controller, and the door opened. And I'm like,
That's really cool, yeah.
That's
if you
super
know
cool.
that, you don't need to go through the other part of the factory to get the clue. But that's also some cool items are over there, so you're going to do it anyway. But I really appreciate the fact that the game doesn't make itself difficult on purpose, because it kind of rewards knowledge of it. It rewards being good at it. I think Dark Souls does the same thing. It rewards your mechanical skill instead of just necessarily your numerical skill value in the game. And this is a big issue with MMORPGs. How does an MMO reward skill instead of levels when levels are the main thing people get? And if you were a level 100 and you suddenly got wrecked by a level 3, would you feel bad?
Yeah. I mean, that was a big thing in Battle
point.
for Azeroth. That was a big complaint because the way their scaling worked was as soon as you hit max level, it flicked over from caring about your level for how tough the monsters were to your gear score, I believe. It was something weird like that. But it came into this weird situation where you'd be killing monsters, in 30 seconds or however long it takes up until max level. As soon as you click over to max level, they're now like 2 or 3 times harder, like the same monsters you were killing before in the overworld. And so all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck? I'm max level. I should be as
The
powerful.
problem
as
was
I've
when it
been
applied to
up until
PvP
now.
as well, because it worked out you had a benefit in PvP if you were lower level.
Oh, yeah, they try
with
and scale
slightly
you
higher
up to
gear
like
score.
balance things
Yeah.
out, but then
Yeah,
they
and the
overscale
scaling
it.
was totally
So now
wrong
you're
on it.
even more powerful. So yeah, there's a constant
Yeah.
back and forth of that shit.
But the
too.
idea, this discussion of design of skill over pure mechanical numbers and reliance on just your character physically being strong, it's very hard to translate that from a single player game into an MMORPG, because take God of War, for example. If you are good enough at God of War and press the right buttons in the right combination at the right times, you can beat it at an incredibly low level because you just outplay the game. It's
Yeah.
almost impossible to translate that to an MMO, because the people that play for a long time that have max level characters, max gear, they don't want to be outplayed by someone who's lower level than
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
They want to know that they win because the time they've put in to play the game is a power investment. They win because they've put more time in. If someone else can
Yeah.
come along and win
Yeah.
because they've got more skill, it makes people quit very quickly. Because
Yeah.
MMORPGs are a power fantasy for many players.
Someone from the Discord named Big Pidge, shout out Pidge,
Shout
our
out Pidge.
moderator. He asked a real question for once. A question for Josh. Are there any older games that you would love to see a remake of?
If I was in charge of remaking a game, of sitting down with a group of people and being like, right, well, I'm going to remake this because I love it and I think it needs to be better, or I love it so much and think that we could bring it into the modern day, I would love to remake The Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver from PlayStation 1, because I think it's an almost perfect PlayStation 1 adventure game, and I would want to change very little. I would just want to create more of it because it's great. I would like to see a remake or an update of Future Cop LAPD on the PlayStation 1, because I thought that was a phenomenal game. Before Armored Core 6 was announced, I would have said we need another Armored Core game, but that's definitely coming out already.
Very
And
hype on that.
I used to be a big fan of an old RPG series called Jade Cocoon, and almost no one's played the Jade Cocoon series, but it was
Was that
I've
a
never even heard of it.
fascinating.
Yeah, I've
it
never
was kind
heard
of
of it.
during it was during the Pokemon era on PlayStation 1, but when you battled someone else, you had a kind of circle around you with 3 spaces on the front, 3 spaces on the back, and 3 spaces on the side, but the kind of corner spaces applied to both the front and the back and the side. And you would spin this ring around you, and there'd be like a monster in every position. So you had to spin the ring until you had the 3 monsters in front of you that you wanted. And then you would attack with them, and then your opponent would spin their ring and attack with them, and you spin round and attack. And
Interesting. What
depending
the
on the
fuck?
combination of 3 monsters that you had, your attack would do something different. It would either add a shield to you, or damage to your opponent, or heal you, or put a status effect on your enemy. And because you had so many monsters and so many spots, the ring spinning mechanic took ages, and battles were really tactical and complicated. I feel there's a lot of potential for that to really go somewhere else.
like
But
Yeah.
Rock,
Legacy of
paper,
Kain
scissors,
Soul Reaver,
squared.
because it was phenomenal. I really want to, work on. I think Croc could have done better than it did.
Let's
Because
go.
Rock.
I loved Croc. I made, but if it was an MMORPG specifically,
the Croc?
I always
universe?
thought that Legend of
yeah, the
Zelda
Croc
would be a
universe.
really good spot for an MMO because of the sheer amount of worlds in the Legend of Zelda universe and the sheer amount of variation within it. But I mean, a Witcher MMO could be good if people aren't Witchers, if they are just warriors and soldiers within this. But as far as just remaking an old game goes,
Maybe a
no, I
Family
think,
Guy
yeah,
MMO?
Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. I'd sit down and do that.
Fuck yeah.
Witcher could work if it was like if it was sort of like a hub-based MMO, like where your
Yeah,
hubs.
The
like
Witcher would work in the
schools.
same way that Lord of the Rings Online works. You don't need to be a main character from the books or from the game. You just need to exist within the world
Yeah,
as
Yeah.
a warrior.
but you also don't want to have it where like you go out into the world and you see 500 witches running around completing quests because that also
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
it
kills
shouldn't
the
be that.
immersion.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it should- Witchers in training, that's fine,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but not fully.
yeah. Fuck, a Witcher mode would be sick actually. Or when I was watching a D&D online video, I absolutely loved how they handled the dungeons because it was very much like a D&D dungeon. It was like, if you had this
Oh, they were great.
this specific
really
character,
good fun.
you'd be able to unlock this secret passage, or if you had this like there was a lot of
Variation.
that's
Huge
my
amount of
favorite shit
variation within
in games and MMOs. It's the reason why Legion was one of my favorite WoW expansions. I love class fantasy stuff. I love like, my character's really good at doing this. Bring me along to your dungeon. I'll be able to unlock doors, or I'll be able to dispel arcane sigils, or whatever the fuck, So like,
My character's really good at kissing.
yeah, and you get to the kissing door. So stuff like that, I think would be
Kissing
super cool.
door.
Because I
That's
haven't seen
flavor.
anybody
Yeah,
do it,
character
so-
flavor is a good way of doing it.
especially with the huge like resurgence in D&D, popularity recently. I mean, you yourself went to the premiere of the D&D movie.
I did. It was good fun.
Yo,
I would love to see
I still
a
have to see
new
that.
D&D MMO like made
yeah.
in 2024.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be cool.
or whatever. The
Wizards have very much dropped the ball on a lot of their video games. I mean, there was a Magic the Gathering MMO for about a week before they ended up
that's
shutting that down because it didn't work. There's actually 2 Dungeons and Dragons MMORPGs. There's D&D Online and there's Neverwinter Online. Now, Neverwinter is a better action combat game and Dungeons and Dragons Online is a better RPG. But Wizards don't seem to have any faith or care in their video game era. I mean, they remade Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. That was a hack and slash game back on the PlayStation 2, and they remade it for PC, and they totally dropped the ball on that. That didn't sell very well at all. They're making Baldur's Gate 3 using Larian Studios, who made the Divinity
Yeah, I got a
Original
friend
Sin
who's
series,
really
and I
excited for
hope
that
the
one.
Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be good because Original Sin was fantastic, but I really don't think they have a lot of faith in their video games,
There was
because if they did, they would have tied the Dungeons and Dragons film launch in with a promotion for either Dungeons and Dragons Online or Neverwinter, which they didn't do.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair,
You
they
think-
also dropped the Mario movie, which has they specifically didn't, but Nintendo dropped the Mario movie, which is now like the highest grossing animated film ever or something. And
Yeah.
to tie in with that,
It was
they
always going
released
to be.
nothing. They were like, fuck it, go play Mario Odyssey from 8 years ago, you fucking idiots.
Do you think for Wizards though, like they, like the real creative leads over there just don't care to create a game and it's being pushed by like the business side of things? Because like if you think about all the really crappy movie to video game stuff that was made in like the early 2000s, there was some great stuff in there, like The Matrix Reloaded and some of the Lord of the Rings games were real great, but
Yeah.
there was also obviously tons of stinkers, and people have pondered just why they were made in the first place. But I feel like it was just someone said, well, we have to make a game. I mean, that's just another avenue for money. But do you think Wizards like is actually being like, we actively want to, forsake a little bit of our more tabletop stuff and create a video game, and they're just failing? Or are they
The
just
reason
shitting it out
Wizards
for
make a
yeah.
lot of their games is simply to maintain the rights to them. It's the same reason that they make Fantastic Four films every few years or a Spider-Man film every few years. If you don't, you lose the creative rights to
I have
it.
a very
That's
weird
interesting,
specific
yeah.
example of that. Do you know that In and Out exists in Australia, but they only open a pop-up shop in Melbourne once a year just so that they can keep the rights to be like, because I guess one day they might
still-
want
Wow.
to
What
release
the
like
fuck?
actual stores here. But at this point, they
But with-
don't.
That is crazy.
But yeah, once
Yeah.
a year, and like the line goes around
They
the
do it.
fucking block for people to try and In
That's
and Out
crazy.
burger, just so that they can
That's
keep
why.
renewing
They
their,
can say
like,
they
I
still
guess in
got
a way that
business
is
there.
business. That is the business mind clashing with the creative mind, though, because
But with Wizards
that
of the
is just
Coast, the
doing it
vast
for no
majority of their
reason. Yeah.
income comes from either toys or Magic the Gathering. And Dungeons and Dragons doesn't actually make a hell of a lot of money for them as far as selling the books goes, which is why they are pushing very much into D&D
They're trying
Beyond,
to-
which is
yeah,
their digital thing online. I was actually at the Dungeons and Dragons Beyond Creator Summit, where they invited a load of people to, video call in and ask the creators questions about stuff. And one of the creators of Dungeons and Dragons Beyond, or the creative leads on it now, I asked them if it was going to tie in any way to any of the video games they'd made, Dark Alliance, Neverwinter Online, or Dungeons and Dragons Online. And their response was, what? So they had no idea about how the video games even worked.
What is a
Wizards
video
make
game?
so much more money from selling cardboard than they do from selling either books or toys or games or subscriptions to their online services. All their money's in Magic the Gathering. So if you walked up to a Wizards executive and said, hey, I want to make a Dungeons and Dragons game, I want to make it online, I want to really give the players the experience they want, they would just say to you, can you sell a Magic the Gathering card of it? The next
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering set is Lord of the Rings. And the Magic the Gathering decks released after that are officially branded Doctor Who decks.
oh yes,
All they are doing, seriously, all they're doing is Universes Expanded, Universes Beyond, outside branding stuff, because that's what makes so
Yeah.
much money.
Yeah.
I don't think Wizards even know that they have a lot of Dungeons and Dragons video games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they almost
Well,
certainly do not.
that-
Yeah.
News to us.
Giobi10 and Bedfails asks,
Shout out Giobi.
for Josh, What role after sitting with us for a few hours? You've known Kudos for a while. What role does each member of the Beef Boy play in your MMO raiding party? Just
right,
off the
okay.
vibes you've
Am I
ascertained.
judging
Just
it
off
entirely off
vibes.
personality and off
Yes.
Yeah, just
clothing
off
choice
vibes.
right now?
Yes.
You could do that too.
Okay, if we're judging it off personality and clothing choice, if this was a raiding party, as soon as I log in, I would be the bard, and I would discover that I've got 4 rogues with me.
I'm also a
rogues
bard.
who are each running out with double crossbows and being like, all right, boys, damage all the way, just full
Fuck
DPS.
Just
Let's go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
Classic.
The
Goddamn
best
right.
defense is making sure the enemy's dead. So we're just going to run in
Goddamn right.
full damage. If it isn't dead, we try it again. I like the fact that if
Yeah.
you were all rogues, 3 of you are wearing cowboy hats, which are going to give some kind of dex bonus. But we've got
Andrew's got
Andy
the
who kinda
tiny,
went,
the tiny.
I'm going to need some defense here. I mean, a little bit of defense, maybe. Helmets prevent critical hits, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I love the
Yeah.
idea of me logging in as. I mean, I normally play a paladin because I like defending and
Me
not
too.
dying. But if I
Yeah.
would log in, it would be a paladin and then 4 rogues just running ahead, pulling everything.
That makes
If you
sense.
if you
I
were
feel
like a
that's-
tank healer paladin, like a half and half, that would be a
Yeah,
pretty
you keep
solid
yourself
party
up.
right there.
Yeah,
man.
I could do that. I'll try and keep
Yeah.
you guys alive, and you just run around
Yeah.
shooting and
We'll just
whipping
run in
things.
there. Yeah.
Okay,
Shooting
that is-
everything.
let's expand on this question. What is everyone's go-to, like class or just
Tank.
archetype in general when playing an
Always
RPG or an
tank.
MMO? So James goes, well, like a warrior tank,
Just-
a paladin tank. Like, what flavor do you like to go?
As a kid, it's always been tank. As a kid, it was definitely like a tank that could deal damage because I wanted to be like part of it or whatever. But I do like being more of a. To me, more of a paladin is like a tank that keeps themselves up because their goal
'cause
is
they
to
believe
keep
in
others
Jesus.
up. So like, you know, like in D&D, I took for my tank class, like you can choose a character trait. I took the one where you could like, if you're within 5 feet of someone, jump in front of them and
Oh,
put
yeah.
your shield
The
up for
defender
them.
one.
So like, more of a traditional like paladin tank
Yeah.
would be
Yeah,
mine.
I generally go ranger, stealth. I like archery and shit. I like being a sneaky little guy going out in the woods. I'll shoot a rabbit.
Sneaky little shooter.
Yeah.
You do that in real life
Yeah.
too. You
I
sneak
do
around
do
the
that
woods
in
of
real
Alaska
life.
and
I
shoot
sneak around the
monsters.
looks. Just
Yeah.
I don't shoot and I just shoot.
You
the
shoot. Andrew's got 3 confirmed kills, and all of them have been hunting accidents.
hunters. Yeah, hunting accidents.
yeah.
Oh no! I
I'm
did
sorry,
it
officer.
again.
I'm just really bad at shooting.
I thought he was
I'm
a deer. He shouldn't be
sorry.
wearing the deer camo.
You should- sometimes deers are bright orange neon.
It could be.
Doplex, what are you in your heart?
Usually I'd be going warrior type shit. I like swords. I like I'm more of like a balanced kind of guy, you know, like usually any sort of this is the one that you want to do if you want to do everything, which I feel like
Yeah.
normally,
Don't
you know,
all
like a
trades.
knight, like that sort of vibe. I
Like a
using
fighter class,
swords.
yeah.
In
Yeah,
games, if I
yeah,
can get a
exactly.
decent team to keep me alive, I love playing glass cannon DPS. Like, I'll walk
Yeah.
forward and I'll go like, guys, look, if the enemy look at me wrong, I'm going to die. But
Yeah.
if you can keep me alive, we're about to nuke this room. You know,
Yeah.
everything's
Yeah.
the little
That's
damage
okay.
numbers
Comes
are
by
about
and
to
just
fill the
rips ass
entire
on you.
screen up. I'm about to kill the
Yeah.
mobs and the respawn before they even respawn. That's how much damage they're doing. You know,
I'm
that
gonna
boss's
crash your
son
game.
is going
Yeah.
to be born dead. That's how
Yeah, I'm
much
gonna crash
damage
your
they're
game.
doing.
I'm going to assassinate
AoE
the
and
devs.
shit.
I'm
Nothing
gonna
That's-
else.
that's what my,
John Luke's booth.
Yeah, we're
That's
going
what my,
full on DPS, glass cannon, burn everything down, but I will die to a stiff breeze.
Yeah,
Right.
I think
Or a
that's why I
stiff
probably
penis.
played tank is because my parents have played, you know, World of Warcraft since fucking beta and like Latro and all that, and my dad was always that like glass cannon DPS like AOE, and then my mom was always a healer, and my mom would just heal my dad, and my dad would kill
Isn't that
everything.
beautiful?
And then when I was a kid, I
Yeah,
would
it's
just like get
beautiful.
on and like
That's a
stand in
real
front of them with a
marriage.
tank and be
I
like,
like the idea that when they met, they kind of looked at each other and went, "We need a child in order to play tank."
yeah, we need a tank. Produce
We
a
need
tank.
a third. Let's make one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kudos. What is in your heart of hearts?
I always play like usually melee, but anything with a lot of mobility. I've got like an air-cooled brain, so I like going really fast. So like I currently in WoW, I play
Yeah.
a demon hunter. Before that, I played a monk.
Yes.
I just like anything where you can like whip around real quickly and fucking like the demon hunters
Yeah.
especially cool because you can double jump and then have fucking wings fly out, which you just skip
That
half the
shit's
boss
fun.
mechanics. But just
Yeah.
shit like that. Anywhere I can move quickly and zip around and just be places and then beat the shit out of something real quick and run away, like I do in real life on the streets of Melbourne after dark. Next question.
Schneebles asks,
What Schneebles
any
asked.
tips or tricks for securing a RuneScape GF, Josh?
Yeah, the inflation rate has gone up substantially, which means you can't just stand and say buying GF 10k
Buying
anymore.
GF.
It's at least 25k. And if you're not wearing at least one skill cape, you're going to be outskilled by somebody who is. So this is a very important
Much
dating
like
piece of
real
advice
life.
that relates to RuneScape.
Yeah.
People always used to say, girls always go for the douchebag guys. No. People, whether it's girls or guys, will go for people who fulfill a need in their life. So if they have a massive attraction to someone who can play the guitar, they're going to go to someone who can play the guitar, even if that person happens to be a bit of a douchebag. They are providing something that they want. So if you
So
want to get a
speaking from
partner in life,
experience,
Yeah, I was gonna
Sure.
say, did you
Work
lose a girl
out.
to a guitar player?
I don't want to talk about it, but
Or he plays
I hate
guitar.
guitar players.
work out what you can provide someone as value to them. Why would they want to spend their time with you? Instead of saying, how do I get a partner, ask yourself, how do I be the kind of person that other people want to be around? And then people will want to be around you. You'll meet someone that wants to spend more time with you. Suddenly you'll have a partner. And as far as RuneScape goes, just do all that, but also have like a really cool skill cape, like have like a
Yeah.
recrafting cape or a slayer cape,
Yeah.
or just be mod Ash. That will work as well.
one of those two things.
So yeah, you need to be
Yeah.
remarkably rich, buy lots of bonds, have a good skill cape, and have a really good personality, which I understand is rare within the RuneScape world, but I believe in you, you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it, Schneebles.
Actually,
And if you're looking for
But-
tips on how to get a hobo girlfriend, play Falling Fernie and have lots of couches.
fuck, that's a throwback. Actually, quick Britain/MMO type meme. When I was a young boy, my father took me to the city. No, I really wanted to play Habbo Hotel. I did play.
marching
Just
band.
I did
see
play
a
Habbo
gay
Hotel,
parade.
but this was before debit cards were like really commonplace, and also like a lot of online
Before
stores
debit
just
cards
didn't-
were invented.
It was 1846.
Well, sorry. No, because my
We
mum
didn't
only
get
had
the
a
debit
credit card at the
card
time.
cash.
She didn't have a
When
debit
we were
card.
storing our doubloons.
I know.
Yeah.
I know that it sounds weird today, but yeah, and like a lot of
Yeah.
So having a credit card you could use on the internet was like a unique thing, in like
Yeah.
2004
Yeah.
or whatever. And also a lot of places just didn't sell shit online because of that reason. So in order for me to get Habbo Hotel cash, I had to get in touch.
You'd have to call.
No, well, yeah, you did, but I
Yeah.
instead got my auntie in the UK because it was a UK game and you could buy the cards at like local
Right.
supermarkets. or whatever.
7-Eleven.
So she
yeah.
had to go to
Oh.
a supermarket, buy the card, and then email us the code.
Oh,
Oh, that's
okay.
awesome.
Interesting.
It's such a fuck
That's awesome.
around. I did the same thing
Dude.
for fucking Ragnarok Online. I'm pretty sure I had to get like
Yeah.
her or someone else
Yeah.
to buy something overseas.
Yeah.
Because New Zealand just doesn't have shit to begin with. So it's like
Dude,
Yeah.
I fucking so it is it was a UK based game, and I remember another way you can get fucking hobo coins was you call the number and they charge your phone bill. But the thing is, since it's a UK based
in
game,
hobo
it
coin.
counts as a long distance call as well. So you're calling this fucking toll free number, they're charging your bill for like $10 in hobo coins, and you're also getting a fucking long distance call. So like I would just rack up my fucking mom's phone bill just buying coins, and I
Bro, that's
wouldn't
like the
tell
lowest
her.
barrier to entry for a child to
It
spend
really
money
is.
in
It
the
really
history
is.
of fucking
Yeah,
society.
it seriously is, and she never noticed, and I was so
Just call
shocked
the phone
she
number
never
and be like, hi,
noticed.
can I spend money?
Yeah, cat hobo coin. Well, not only you didn't have to talk to anybody. It was just like a fucking automated thing. It was just like enter how many coin you want, and you just
Sounds like
fucking
a scam.
1,000. Yeah, it
You
straight up
should be able to
was.
get RuneScape membership by texting a number or by sending them physical cash in the post. And I did
No
that.
way.
I did
Here's
that.
10
I
bucks.
got out the envelope. I put like £5 coins in there, sealed it up
Yeah.
to RuneScape, and just sent it through.
That's
and sat
awesome.
there to wait for
RuneScape.
it.
Please.
And then
That's a
they gave you
jackass.
membership on
To
your account.
RuneScape.
Yeah, you
Mr.
literally you could
RuneScape.
send money
Hello,
through
RuneScape.
the post, and they would give you membership.
that's so funny.
Hello,
nuts.
hello, RuneScapio.
Hello,
join
hello,
RuneScape.
Mr. Scape.
That's such
Dear
an interesting.
Mr. RuneScape.
That's such an interesting like cross between like early internet. Like we had like
Yeah.
the computer is an insane piece of technology that we take for
Yeah.
granted. This was like the early days that we were able to literally play an online game over the pipes with fucking everyone in the world, but you still had to mail money.
Mail
Like you're in the
money.
fucking early 1900s paying off
Yeah.
a debt.
Fucking carrier
Had to
pigeon.
give,
to just
yeah, you had to give it to a guy on a horse. He just takes it.
Isn't that somewhere?
back in a fortnight.
I heard there's like
Look out for
somewhere in-
that one in a few years.
There was somewhere in like Africa where the internet speeds were so slow it was actually faster to send pigeons with USB drives than it was to upload files. That's something I read.
That's
Epic.
nuts.
Yeah.
I wish I had a
Pigeons
pigeon.
know where they're going.
I wondered
Yeah, how
that
do
too.
pigeons know where they're going?
What the fuck's up with that?
Like you just tell them like, go to McDonald's and bring me cheeseburger.
It's not
Pigeon's like,
Uber
all
Eats.
right.
Well,
know
well,
where
when we
that's
have
at.
when we have
Rudimentary
pigeon
Uber
strife
Eats when they were
haze
trying
on,
to
we can
train
ask them
pigeons
that.
to do it.
Yeah, when's the Josh
That'd be
Strife
epic.
pigeon channel coming?
Yeah.
Well, that's just
That's,
Amazon with
that's
their
good.
drones. They're almost there.
I'm trying to fund that with the Josh Strife Maze channel, so the funding is not
Yeah.
No, anyway.
at the minute I owe pigeons.
You know the ones? Did you get these recently? That Temu thing, TEMU. I think it's like Wish or AliExpress. Or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, I've seen all the adverts for it. Oh my god, I saw an advert for it. In fact, my partner saw an advert for it, and she came over to me and she showed it me, and it was one of those. It's like knockoff Wish, but the adverts are even dumber. And there's
Yeah.
someone wearing headphones, and the caption was "Finally, headphones that you can see while listening to music." And I thought, what
does
a
that
problem we've
mean?
solved. Because
Was
previously,
it
you put
like
headphones on, you
did it have
can't see
Mr.
shit.
Beast with his hand on their shoulder and they were crying?
Yeah, and they're
They
crying.
wear the headphones
like-
like on their face like this.
Yeah.
Like I don't get
Yeah.
it.
Finally,
I let
look
1,000
while listening to
people see-
music. It's brilliant.
See their
We're-
headphones.
I feel like we're definitely in the era where all of the really like it's not even ironic anymore. It's just post-ironic. Like a lot of the mobile game ads you see on YouTube Shorts or TikToks or something. It's like I feel like they're doing it stupid mode on purpose, or like
there's a
just
reason
because
for this.
5
Actually,
years ago they figured out they
I
had
spoke
the
to a
highest
developer
click-through
about
rate.
this.
Yeah.
They actually earn more from selling people's data than they do from selling transactions within the game. So
Yeah.
the objective is to get you to download the
Jesus
game, and then
Christ.
even if you delete it immediately, they've still got your data. So it's
Yeah.
not about the advert representing the game, it's about the advert being downloaded. Now, you mentioned about those crappy adverts. We've all seen those ones where it's like a running track, someone's running forward, there's two like gates, one of them is plus
Oh my
weapons,
God.
one of them
Plus-
is minus something, and
Yeah,
you run through a
times
variation
5.
gate and you fight the
Yeah.
boss.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually now an advert variation of that where they take a YouTuber or influencer and they have them voice over the advert and they say something like, "Hey guys, I'm actually playing this game to see if it looks like the advert. So we're going to go through the gate on the
I'm
left
Mr.
and we've
Beast."
upgraded.
I've
We've
seen
got a
those.
rocket launcher and all the enemies are now there." It's not the gameplay. They've paid an influencer to do a voiceover as if the
They
gameplay
are
is real.
playing it.
So
Yep. No, I've seen
Yeah,
that.
and
too.
they're now going for that.
What the
It's
fuck?
surreal.
That's awful.
I hate those fucking
When is
ads,
someone
man.
gonna do something about it?
Yeah, we need to start sending them to the middle of the ocean.
To
Just drop them
Guantanamo.
off there.
Joey?
So,
Well,
well, about those Temu things, real quick. So, I started getting shitloads of different people reaching out to me on my business email, being like, "Oh, would you like to do a paid sponsorship for Temu?" And a lot of the it's a Chinese company. I guess they pay a lot of Chinese marketing companies
You
to
don't
promote
say.
it. And a lot of the
I
English
would've
in these
never
emails
guessed.
was really like dodgy as a result. And this was around the time that all those YouTube channels were getting hacked. Do you remember when all those were getting like
yeah.
Don't
slapped with-
download any PDFs. And the reason, do you know how they worked out what was happening?
What?
So if you
Yeah.
name an executable file .pdf in capitals and then .exe or .exe in capitals followed by .pdf or something like that, it shows up in your preview as a PDF file with a PDF file extension and a PDF file icon. But when you try and run it, it's an executable file. But the type of executable file it is a Windows screensaver. But when you run screensaver, it accesses a load of cookies and then sends all the details back to the person that sent the original
eats them all.
screensaver. And then when they go onto YouTube, it acts exactly like it would act for you and automatically logs you into your account.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, like spoof or some
crazy.
shit. Like I've even heard
yeah,
just
so PDF files,
clicking.
man, don't
Why
do it.
don't people just figure out how to like fucking
do that?
make a really cool fucking toy or something. Like you put all that effort into what? Just
scamming.
go make a fucking cool Barbie
Yeah.
phone or some shit. What is
Just do the cool
What's
thing.
wrong with you?
We do need
Make
more
the next
Barbie
McDonald's
phones.
Happy Meal toy.
But
Come on.
anyway, so
Yeah.
I was talking to some people about how sketchy that whole like Tesla hacking scam was, and then immediately I
Yeah.
get all these
Yeah.
emails from like, hey, do you want to promote our thing in Temu? Click here to see the like the document or whatever, the talking points. And I've
Click here
heard
to
that
see my
you
pussy.
never click, even if it doesn't download something. I think even just it being open in your browser can still spoof
Yeah,
your
don't.
like log.
Yeah,
and stuff.
phishing
Yeah.
links are real. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
it's crazy.
I now come to find out those actually probably were real sponsor offers. I wouldn't have done it anyway.
They're just.
But it was just
It's
crazy.
just such a piece of shit website that even their advertising looks like a
Yeah.
scam.
No, literally.
Yeah.
And it was
Exactly.
from like 10 different companies. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
which isn't unrealistic either. Like a lot of brands go through different marketing companies, but it was just
Yeah, they go
weird just
through marketing
how
companies.
many there were for this one really weird product I'd never heard of before.
I got an email to my business email the other day that was the body of it was like something about a YouTube sponsorship, and then the subject line was "the dead body has been found on," and then it does the ... And it was to me it was I didn't click it, but I was like, damn, that is a motherfucking crazy way to try to get someone to
Yeah.
click, because sometimes you only got to open the fucking email.
Yeah.
And then, it grabs a bunch
The
of
thing is,
shit.
the
Like,
demographic that they're going for,
because
they're like,
everyone
"Oh,
fears like, oh my god, what if
YouTubers
someone's
who
setting
have
me up
killed
in the
someone."
Matrix?
Yeah, dude. When I was
Yeah.
working at Rooster Teeth, we got an email. It's funny because like I don't know if this dude thought like it was like an individual person, but we got an email to like the Inside Gaming email, and it was basically saying like, we hacked into all of your cameras, like on your phone, your webcam and stuff like that. We have videos of you like jacking
There's a
off.
picture
I
of
got
your
one of those
dog.
too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
because I
like-
just randomly checked my spam, and yeah, it was like, we've
Yeah.
hacked into your thing. We've got naughty videos of you. If you don't pay us like
Yeah.
$500, we're going to release it on
We're
like
gonna
on,
release
It's like
it.
an MS Paint.
on this specific.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't provide any picture, obviously, but it was funny because they said like, oh, we're going to release it on this date, but I didn't check my spam
Yeah.
until like 2 weeks after that, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
I guess it's out there.
Well, those are videos of me fucking
Shit.
nutting.
Damn.
No.
Yeah. But it's just like it's like broken English, you know. It's just like we
Yeah.
have video you jacking off and masturbating. And,
Come.
I think what made that one scary
Like,
though
goddamn.
was it in the title or the subject bar. It said like one of my old passwords that I used like 15 years ago.
oh,
I think what
that's fucking
But like
weird.
it's a password I use when it's like for a website that I do not give a shit about. Like a
Doesn't-
website that's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
this is definitely either a scam or something, but I just need a password to like log, like a second
I want a
Facebook kind of
coupon
shit or
for
whatever.
Burger King.
Yeah, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So one of those places
I
obviously
want
got
a
hacked, and they were
coupon
like,
for Burger
"Is this your
King."
password?" I've got photos of you jacking off, and I'm like, "Well, that is my password
photos
from
of you.
when I was like 12." But
That's
Just
my
like
password
prove
for the sites I don't jerk off on. Stupid.
Fucking idiot.
fucking dumbass.
Let's really quick. Let's hit one last question. I think this is our most serious question for Josh from B.
Okay.
Kavanaugh. He says, Josh, who is the most easily edible WoW NPC you can think of? Now, consider their activity levels and their lifestyle, their environment and atmosphere, which would contribute to the marinade of their skin, and their muscle to bone ratios.
I also feel like Josh might know RuneScape slightly better. I mean, you also
That's
have
okay. I
obviously
can answer
played
this
WoW.
question. Is it so easily edible as in I'm enjoying it, or as in it's just physically easy for me to eat?
Both.
I think they mean easily as in like easily to get down. If you're a motherfucker living in WoW land and you got to cook someone up and eat it and enjoy it, who are you?
Anyone that was in
What-
the world tree when it
what
burned down,
NPC
because
you
they are
enjoy?
literally just
Yeah.
ash. You can just take a spoon and be
Okay.
like, "Here's an elf." Done. You could probably
But then
go
you have
to
to just-
a
it has
to
a
taste
family
good.
and be like, "All right, cool. I'll force this down. I've got like 3 things in me now. Great."
You could mix it
halfway
into a
through
potion.
the burning of the world tree, effectively what you've got is barbecue. Almost barbecue on legs.
Texas
That would
style
work to you. So that'd be great. That would work.
Yeah. But let's say
yeah.
it was specific. It wasn't an Ash-based character. What would?
Oh, right. Someone who's actually alive, something that's alive.
Or
You're trying to get a WoW girlfriend, and you need to. She
You need to-
she
yeah.
is looking for what she's looking for in somebody is an incredible cook.
Yeah.
And you're both
In
you're
the
both
well.
undead
If they're
who
looking for an
famously have the
incredible cook,
cannibalize ability.
then she's not only looking for what I'm cooking, but also how I'm cooking it. So it's going to have to
Yeah.
be a case of
Exactly.
like being on the
Yeah,
back of
it's a
Deathwing
delicacy.
as they fly
Yeah.
over, looking at her, being like, "Just give me some time. Just wait.
Yeah.
This is about to
Yeah.
be delicious.
It's the journey.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do something here.
Put
Yeah,
some
it's the
Lowry's
ritual
on
of
this
going
bitch.
through it. It's the fighting
Yeah.
all the way up through, Ice Crown, getting to the very top, having Arthur step forward, and me being like, "Just watch what's about to happen to
Yeah.
this. All right,
Let me cook.
we're about to take a lovely bit of steak.
cook.
It's going to be beautiful."
So in that regards, who would you eat?
Yeah, who would you eat?
I think I'd.
Yeah, Mom.
If I wanted to just annoy everyone, obviously you try and eat Sylvanas because I feel the
Tastes
plot would
awful.
have
She's like
improved.
rotting and shit.
The plot would have improved substantially. I think she's
That is
done that
true.
cheese thing. You know where milk kind of it's fine and then it's deadly and then it's disgusting and then it's cheese.
And then
Yeah.
it's cheese. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
That's
gone
yogurt.
through
then
the
it's
deadly
fine
and
again.
disgusting bit and is kind of back in the okay bit now.
Yeah.
She made the
But yeah,
cheese
Sylvanas
era.
definitely. I do understand. I do know RuneScape a lot deeper, but if I was just going through Warcraft things that I would have to eat, Illidan's probably got some decent muscle. And would probably be
he's-
nice to cook
yeah,
up
one
and
of
eat.
his
I feel that
wings.
Illidan
He's got
would make a
wings like a
decent
chicken.
steak. Because then
Andrew,
I
put
would cook
pictures
him
of these
enough and
people
he
up.
would be prepared. That's how it would work.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. Good joke.
I like
and then
that
real
too.
quick, while we're here, give us your RuneScape character you'd eat too.
And again, am I talking about a delicious RuneScape character
Yes.
or an easy to eat
Yeah.
one?
Delicious.
Delicious. Just the most
Well, I mean,
delectable
RuneScape has an
motherfucker
entire
out there.
quest themed around fighting food-based monsters. It's the Recipe for Disaster quest literally has you fight an animated trifle. It has you fight a titan made out of Christmas pudding. It has you
Oh,
fight animated
okay.
jelly. So definitely the animated Christmas pudding titan. I think would be
Okay.
a great
Yum.
thing to
Okay.
That sounds like a good
Yummy.
meal. I think
That's a good
I
cop
think
out. I like that.
your
Yeah.
fine
Is this
fair
British
RuneScape
pudding?
girlfriend is gonna give you some sweet top for that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Is this British pudding or normal pudding?
it's Christmas pudding.
Well, I think it's definitely British pudding because it's beige and contains some kind of raisin. All British
Okay,
food
yeah,
is
yeah,
beige. That's how it
Okay,
works.
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
That's
that makes
pretty
sense.
British.
Last question
I am
to
so
round up.
proud of myself for eating diarrhea, and I'm so happy
Me
I
after
have
eating the
diarrhea in my
Titan.
stomach. And I hope you enjoy watching me eat my
Well, hold
diarrhea.
on. No,
What's that guy's
no,
name?
I got the last question.
Okay.
Oh
Oh wait, I did have a question.
wait, okay then. James says I have the second last question.
No, you do it. You do it. You do it.
Josh,
I just had you do it.
what do you order when you go to the fish and chip shop?
Okay, you can't just spring a complicated question on me like that because British
Not
fish and
fish and
chips.
chips.
Look, England did this amazing thing. We conquered the entire world. We had access to every herb, every spice, every culture, every type of food, and we went potato. That's how it's going to work. That's what we're
Hell
going to build
yeah.
the majority of our food
Tater.
around.
What
It's
if-
going to be beige. So when you go to the fish
Boil
and
and
chip
mash 'em,
shop,
stick 'em in the
if you
stew.
ask for a small chips, you get a massive pile of chips.
Yeah.
If you ask for a large chips, nobody actually knows what happens because nobody has ever had to ask for a large chips
No
from
Brit has had
any
the
chip shop
courage.
ever. I think they give you the shop.
They're not
I
American.
Yeah,
think
they
that's
just
how
hand
you
over the
work at the
keys.
shop, and that's how
Yeah,
fish
you
and chip
inherit
shops
the
get handed down.
You become
but
King
you ask-
Charles. You
You
take
ask
over.
for a pie. You ask for a steak and ale
Fucking
pie. You
W.
ask for a chicken and onion pie if you need one. You ask for a battered sausage. You
Yep,
ask for a
nice.
small haddock. You ask for a small chips. You get home. You open all the packages from all the paper, and you realize this is a fuck ton of beige. You eat about a quarter of it, and
Yep.
then you say to yourself, "I'm going to put this in the fridge and have it the next day." So you
And
put it in the
you
fridge.
never
You come
do.
back. You don't have it the next day because it's absolutely disgusting. Even if you put it back in the
Yeah.
oven, put it in the air fryer, stick it in the microwave, it's just nasty. So you throw the vast majority of it away, swear to never do it again, and have a fish and chips in 2 weeks' time.
That is
Very nice. Well,
there's the fish and
Okay.
chips experience.
We
It's
gotta
good to know
rock
that's
up to the
universal.
UK
It's almost the
theory.
same here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we.
Wait.
Go on.
Yeah.
You're gay.
Yeah.
You put vinegar on your fish and chip.
Of course you do. You've got to put salt and vinegar on it. But you got to
I
put.
put
I had this thing as a kid where every time I would look at the person serving me and I'd go, "Could you please put the vinegar on first so the salt sticks? Because if you
Stick
put the
to it.
salt on first,
Yeah.
the vinegar
Yeah.
will wash it off." And I was just
Exactly.
convinced that the vinegar would just rinse the salt off the chips, and then I would just have vinegar sticks. You needed the vinegar on first so the salt sticks on
I
top.
mean, you were
it
onto
a
makes
couple of
sense.
years later,
You were
like, I
onto
was-
something.
As a kid, I was just so insistent. I knew
They
in
should
my
have let
mind
you
Yeah.
cook.
it had to be this order. And then many years later, turns out obviously everyone's a little bit autistic. And I think that was
Goddamn right.
probably why I was so insistent on
Amen,
having it.
brother.
Wait, does anywhere else in the world have chicken salt? Or is that just an Australia thing?
What
I've
the
never
fuck
had
is
chicken
salt.
chickens? They just grinding up chickens.
Yeah, it's pretty much like chicken seed. I guess like chicken stock powder, but made into a salt that's really tasty.
It's like a bull. Yeah, it's like a like a dried bouillon
Oh,
almost.
we've got like
Oh,
bouillon and
okay.
stuff like that. That's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is like no, this is salt you put on chips. Like if you go to a fish and chip, or if you go
Yeah,
to Burger
yeah.
King here, they have chicken salt on their chips. There's like it's like salt DLC. It's like bitter salt.
It's not that common, but I've had it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
It
do.
goes
I
hard.
do be fucking with it.
They
Yeah.
That's
put
like
the
white
chicken
people
salt behind a
MSG.
paywall. It's fucked up.
It's like WSG.
Yeah, white people.
WSG.
Anyway, well,
White people MSG is just mayonnaise.
Josh,
If I had to eat somebody in WoW, it would be your mom's bot.
what the fuck?
If I had to eat
Well,
someone
Josh, you
in
made it
WoW,
to the
it'd
top of
be
Spice
fucking
Mountain. Fucking.
Was the journey worth
Can't-
it?
Yeah, was the
conquered
journey
all
worth
these
it?
wings.
What do you have going on? There's a
This
camera, there,
that camera.
there,
Tell
this
us,
camera.
Oh yeah.
fucking
Tell
tell
us
us what you
about
got in
Josh
your
Strife
ass.
pays.
Yeah, what's your crypto? looking
Or
like?
maze.
Tell about
what's
John
your,
Struggles maze.
what's your number?
What's my number? Oh, the amount
Will
of
you be
people
my
that ask.
RuneScape GF?
Plus 61.
It would definitely have to be World 69 because that's the drug number. No,
Oh,
it's been
yeah.
fun. It's been fun to be on. It's been fun to chat.
Yeah,
It's been
thanks.
fun to talk about games. And I think what a lot of people forget is that ultimately games they're fun, they're silly, and we all have, great memories of playing them as a kid. We have great. I'm trying to move house recently, and we've had a load of estate agents come round, and all the estate agents say to me, "Oh, what'd you do?" And I say, "Oh, I work on YouTube, make videos about video games." And everyone has said to me, "Oh yeah, I stopped playing games. When I was a kid, I played them and I stopped."
I
and I'm
stopped
like,
having
"Why?"
fun.
Yeah. Remember
I started
fun?
hating
That
my
was a
life.
fun
Single
time from
tear
your
runs
childhood.
down their
But no, what I
face.
like is there is a massive subset of people who still not only love video games, but passionately love them. Because gaming is the biggest medium in the world. It's the biggest
Oh, yeah.
entertainment medium in the world. It's bigger than films, bigger than TV
Goddamn
put
right.
together. It's massive. So just love games, man. Enjoy it. And if someone loves a game that you don't love, you're not wrong. They're not wrong. Just love games.
Everyone's just, hey, if you're having fun and you're
Gaming.
not being,
Gaming.
you're not spending 10 grand on a
Gaming.
mobile game because they're trying to
Gaming.
tap into your synapses.
Gaming.
Gaming.
Good on you.
Gaming.
Gaming.
Incredible! Nobody can catch you. You're the real Range Racer.
See you, Space BeefBoys!